Hello, everyone, and welcome live to 3YTV for tonight's broadcast of the National Sim Racing Association Stay Tuned Sports Podcast Truck Series here. Tonight, we have the BeerStreetJournal.com, the best in beer 250-mile race here around the famed Talladega Super Speedway. I'm Peter Short, and joining me alongside tonight is Drew Eisenman. And Drew, great to be back here in the state of Alabama at this 2.66-mile Super Speedway.
Absolutely a great opportunity for a driver that might not feel that they have the best chances of winning at the more traditional styles of track. And here at Talladega, Peter, that opportunity is wide open. Is up towards the front. We have some guys traditionally run towards the front, guys like Philip Scott, John Canizaro, TJ Buck from time to time, but guys like Johnny Williams, Randy Perdue, some other names towards the front, Adam Dama, they could seize this opportunity, get themselves locked into the chase, which would completely change the trajectory of those guys towards the tail end. Peter, this is kind of one of those wild cards, and I'm really interested to see how this whole race plays out.
Yeah, and also some new faces in the field here tonight as we see Stan Hausman, the BeerStreetJournal.com sponsored driver, work his way around the racetrack, drafting with the Captain Crunch machine. A little bit of a throwback there for TJ Buck tonight in the National Sim Racing Association. Great to see Captain Crunch back on the hood of the number 84 machine. But with new faces out there on the racetrack, anything can happen here at Talladega. And like you said, Drew, definitely going to be a little bit of a wild card. Who might clinch their way into the chase for the Stay Tuned Sports Truck Series title here in a couple of months? We will find out here. There's the 07, driven by William Kerwin Jr. as he heads off towards turn number 1. Just about 30 seconds left before we go into our pole shootout, brought to you by our friends at craigssetupshop.co.uk. Link in the description to the site that has the best iRacing setups across the board. Make sure to check them out here tonight if you're looking to pick up some setups. Of course, it is a fixed setup league, Drew, but those open series in iRacing, you do need some good setups, and craigssetupshop.co.uk is a place to head to.
Yeah, I mean, even if you're a guy running a fixed league, sometimes the iRacing sets, the default sets, can leave a little bit to be desired as far as handling characteristics are concerned. So Craig's Setup Shop, a great place to go find setups for your fixed league, in addition to those open series that you can find both on the official and league side of iRacing. But here we go, Peter, going into qualifying, and this is one of the few tracks, this and Daytona, the oval at Daytona, are, to me, the two tracks, maybe Monza Oval, if you're the Super Speedway Series here at NSRA, that you can basically throw practice out the window. It really does not matter when you're looking at what to expect in qualifying. It's almost a completely different skill set here at these super speedways compared to what you would normally see in qualifying. Normally in qualifying, you're looking for a guy that can extract maximum grip, maximum speed through the corners, drive super aggressively without going over the edge over the course of one lap. Here at Talladega, it's just how smooth can you be? Can you find that optimal line that this truck wants here tonight? And that's who's going to win the pole here tonight, which, Peter, track position's not everything, but it's certainly beneficial to be starting towards the front here tonight.
Yeah, that's for sure. We got a couple of these drivers out there on the racetrack that are new to the Stay Tuned Sports Podcast Truck Series. We're just highlighting them. Here's another one, Ryan Bolstridge in the number 95 truck here tonight, the Monster Energy Machine. So we'll be keeping our eyes on him. Oop, we're going to pick up another one. There's Garrett Austin. He, for some reason, just took a tow back to pit road. Not exactly sure why, but definitely here tonight, Drew, qualifying not all too important. It's kind of more bragging rights more than anything here at Talladega.
Yes, I would agree in part. In the Beer Street Journal series here, when I ran the Daytona race, I don't love these types of tracks, but I qualified well, and I kind of just was able to keep myself up front until some shenanigans happened at pit stops. But that ability to just hang towards the front, I think, removes you from an element of getting yourself in trouble. I mean, the leader can wreck essentially the entire field with an aggressive block here at these tracks, but I think if you qualify towards the field, you can have more of a say in your fate. You can determine where you run more so than if you start towards the back. You kind of are forced to run back there unless some shenanigans happens early. So it's not Martinsville as we saw last night. But I don't think it's nearly as kind of arbitrary as sometimes people make it out to be. As now we start to have lap 1 times roll in. The number 12 of John Cannizzaro tentatively in the top spot. I don't expect that to hold. Typically, lap 2 times or a little bit quicker, with Adam Leidy in the number 51 machine in second, and then Thomas Koeck in that number 04 machine right now in third as we get some more times. I believe that number 03 truck of Jordan, I practiced this name, Dwarchik in that 03 is tentatively in second position with Philip Scott in that 99, who, Peter, to me is one of those drivers that's really, really improved. He is currently tentatively in first.
Yeah, I know Philip Scott has really been working over the past couple of weeks on becoming more of a patient driver to, try and prevent situations like last night at Martinsville Speedway, where we saw quite a few drivers get into situations, maybe a little bit overzealous situations. And Philip Scott has definitely been improving and has been very, very quick. And, is definitely now going to be working on being a bit more patient in these races and give and take over the next couple of weeks to see if he can add that extra element. Because, Drew, you and I know that give and take, there's probably not going to be a lot of give and take here tonight at Talladega, but give and take on an oval can be extremely important. It gives you the benefit of saving your tires, not wearing them out. You got another car that's faster than you. You don't want to use up your tires trying to hold them off if they're faster than you, because if they're faster than you, they're going to probably get around you and you're just going to wear out your tires. You might wear out their tires in doing so. So those are types of things that I'm sure we'll be seeing here on 3Y TV discussed over the upcoming weeks. Now, it seems like finally the ticker at the top of the screen has decided to behave, and we got some of those times up there for you. Philip Scott, currently fastest. Jordan Dwarchik is second fastest. Jordan Scheffler, Justin White, third and fourth. John Cannizzaro is in fifth here tonight. But checkered flag has fallen, and it will be the number 99 of Philip Scott here, picking up tonight's CraigSetupShop.co.uk pole award at the Talladega Super Speedway, just to get that bragging rights, kind of like what we said here. Drew, let's see if we can see what's up with the number 99 machine of Philip Scott. There he is. We'll bring up that Craig Setup Shop Pole Position Award right there on your screen. Congratulations to Philip Scott for picking that up here tonight. Definitely going to be an interesting night here. Big shout out to our race sponsor, BeerStreetJournal.com. If you haven't already checked it out, there is a link in the description to look at what they have to say. Always talking about craft brews that are up there on the Northeast coast and really across the entire United States of America. So really, really cool place to check out. I go there quite a bit, Drew.
Yeah, I'm currently enjoying a delicious hazy IPA via Pint House Brewing here in Austin, Texas. Electric Jellyfish. If you're an IPA fan, maybe not a hoppy IPA fan, I would highly encourage you to check that out. Hopefully, we might have some pretty cool stuff going on with them in the future. We shall see if that stuff is able to develop. But Peter, here we go. The grid is setting. Philip Scott on the pole. Jordan Dwarchik in that number 03 truck will be rolling off in second. Jordan Scheffler, a solid qualifying effort in that number 13 machine, rolling off in third. Then it's Justin White in that 2 rolling off in fourth. John Cannizzaro in fifth. Garrett Gleason, an outstanding effort in 6th position. Adam Leidy in 7th. Randy Perdue starting to his outside. Then it's Thomas Koeck in that number 04 machine with Josh Sobel in that 57 starting in 10th position. And then Matt Cherry and Zach Staish. We're going to go with that pronunciation. And the number 30 machine rolling off in 12th.
Yeah, looking a little bit further back in your field here tonight on row number 7, Travis White and Garrett Austin. TJ Buck, Tristan Maher will be rolling off from the 8th row here tonight. Then back behind them, we got Joshua Corner and William Kerwin Jr. Ryan Bolstridge, Chris Darling round out your top 20. Randy Bledsoe, Jason Gracias, 21st and 22nd. And taking you through 24th position here, Scott Tompkins and Nick Kessler, Drew.
Yeah, then it's, my apologies, Jeffrey Johnson Jr. in that number 33 machine, then Vincent Valvano to his outside. 27th is Nathan Maurer in that 971 machine with Doug Milliner in the number 6 starting in 28th. Then it's Stan Hausman and Ben Mashburn in 29th and 30th. Then Adam Dama in that 28 machine in 31st. Kyle Lewis in that 18 machine in 32nd. Then Jason Shue and Johnny Williams, I believe, Peter, rounding out our field.
Yeah, that is going to do it. 34 drivers here tonight in the Stay Tuned Sports Podcast Truck Series. And interestingly enough, Drew, tonight was a Becoming Dr. Mashburn, the podcast challenge, where Philip Scott, your CraigSetupShop.co.uk Poll Award winner, would have an opportunity to drop to the tail end of the field. And if he finished up near the front of the field, won the race, he would get some extra cash. But does not look like the number 99 of Philip Scott is taking part in that challenge. So that money will roll over to the next event, which I believe is at Las Vegas. So that money will roll over to Las Vegas, Michigan, Richmond, Daytona Auto Club, and Atlanta. The other Becoming Dr. Mashburn, the podcast events. So Scott will retain his CraigSetupShop.co.uk Poll Award up there in the National Ninja League number 99 Ford F-150, and of course the 03 of Dwarchik to his outside. The iRacing Pace Truck is heading towards pit lane. Of course, we always have to talk about the fact that start-finish line here at Talladega is not in the middle of the tri-oval like it is at Daytona, but it is quite a bit past that tri-oval, and we have seen races won or lost in that distance here on 3Y TV before. But folks, the Beer Street Journal the BeerStreetJournal.com 250 here in the Stay Tuned Sports Podcast Truck Series about to get underway, Drew.
Philip Scott leading him through the tri-oval now to the green flag there. Of course, as you mentioned, Peter, just after the tri-oval, a pretty even start for the first row. It'll be interesting to see. As we all know, most of us should know, maybe most of the viewers know, a little bit different here at the super speedways, all about the draft and guys pushing you, transferring that momentum through cars that have less air resistance behind the lead driver in a particular line. That is what's going to make the difference in momentum. Outright speed, not necessarily really relevant here, can help you, but not in a fixed series like we're running here tonight. All of these trucks have the exact same setup, so regardless of manufacturer, regardless of any of that stuff, they will be running the exact same equipment. So Peter, that really neutralizes any potential advantage that you see in real life here at Talladega. Maybe a little bit more slippery car, maybe a car with a little more downforce that can handle a little better. Doesn't matter here today at Talladega, tonight here rather. As I believe Philip Scott was able to lead that first lap, but only just, as that outside lane looking relatively organized here early.
Yeah, so far the field is organized, and we got the number 51 machine, though. He's seen enough. He's going to drop to the tail end of the field. That, I believe, is Adam. I'm not sure. I've heard that name pronounced a couple of different ways. I had a Scottish professor who called it Lichty. So I'm not exactly sure of the pronunciation that the number 51 goes by, but I know him. I know that name as Lichty. But Adam in that number 51 machine going to drop all the way down to the 29th spot. So just getting out of the way of this lead pack because they're already 3 wide in this lead pack. Garrett Gleason back there, the number 7 in the Choman's Care machine. He's in the middle of 3x3x3 right now, with the 07 of William Kerwin Jr. to his outside. Now make that the 1 MaxGrafix.co machine of Jason Gracias to the outside of the number 7 is Justin White pushing on the back of the 03 of Dwarchik, trying to get him up to the front, but so far Philip Scott has the number 99 truck out front.
Yeah, that outside, or the inside lane rather, not the outside, the opposite of the outside, the inside lane seems to have been more organized relative to the competing lanes thus far, but not unexpected early for me, Peter. I think that inside lane in the first few laps, while guys are trying to figure out who to work with, who kind of is the number 2 machine. That's a little bit of a scary move there, scary view from the number 57 machine. That outside lane, you're kind of figuring out who you're racing with, who you feel comfortable racing with, who maybe you feel comfortable on your tailgate, who you don't feel comfortable on your tailgate. And that outside line, I think, is a little more susceptible to that hesitancy, I guess, that we see kind of in these early laps. I think that high lane here at Talladega, where there's a lot more room than Daytona, where you can get that high lane really working, I think it'll be interesting to see if that high lane is able to work. I think the speed will be there. It's our guys willing to make it work. Thus far in this race, Beer Street Journal 250 not able to really get organized up there, although the 07 making some inroads here, Peter, in the second half of lap 4, coming to lap 5 now, seeing some momentum out of that number 07 machine.
Yeah, of course, William Kerwin right there. He has done quite well on super speedways here in the National Sim Racing Association in the past, almost coming up with a Super Speedway Series title that is now broadcasted on 10-4 Broadcasting, but he did that almost last season as he's getting a big push from behind with the number 25 truck there. And it says number 25 on the scoring pylon, and that is driven by Randy Perdue, just making sure that all these numbers check out, because sometimes the numbers on the trucks don't always equate to the number that you see on the scoring pylon and the ticker at the top of your screen. Garrett Gleason in the number 7 is now falling well out of the top 10 back to the 21st position, as we're starting to see some different groups already form up here, Drew. We often see this at this particular racetrack where these drivers will, go to different packs so they can try and avoid any big accidents. You can either be ahead of the accident or you can be behind the accident. And if you're behind the accident, you hope to be far enough back that you can get on the brakes.
Yeah, but also sometimes wrecks kind of happen towards people who tend to find themselves towards the back, sometimes with reason. Sometimes they're just, they don't feel comfortable at these types of tracks, and then, they make a mistake, and somehow you're running 30th and you get wrecked out. And 30th on back gets wrecked out, and you're one of those. To me, that's always a little bit more frustrating than when you're running towards the front and something happens. So I think I've had enough of those instances of trying to lay back and play it safe and still getting wrecked, to where at this point I just kind of try to find where the calm is and try to ride at the tail end of that. So let's look at this front pack. Where I would like to be are those black trucks kind of back behind where they're running 3 wide. Yeah, those guys right there towards the bottom of the screen that we just saw. A little bit further than these guys. See, right here, these guys are still running side by side. A misjudgment can happen. These guys can still get caught up. And, Peter, they're far enough back to where it's not hard to lose the draft if you're one of these guys. And then that can really, really destroy your race strategy, because these guys are racing 3 wide right now, coming now on lap 8. That, yeah, you think that there's probably going to be a wreck, but that's not guaranteed whatsoever. Sometimes there is a wreck and no caution comes out, and then you take yourself out of the ability to compete for this race win because you're so far back, there's no way you're going to catch that main pack.
Yeah, I mean, the one thing about these trucks that we're racing here tonight in the Stay Tuned Sports Podcast Truck Series is that they tend to punch a little bit bigger hole in the air, so your opportunity of losing the draft is lessened versus some of the more slick Cup cars and Grand National Series cars that they run here. So that will help, like Stan Houseman. Drivers like Stan Houseman that's back there just laying back. And I kind of like to be back there, Drew. I'm sure he felt out what's capable of these trucks in practice a little while ago. How far can you lay back behind someone to continue to hold on to the group? But then you have a second group of drivers that's led by the number 4 machine of Ben Mashburn. Look at this. Chris Darling, Ben Mashburn working together. We got Doug Milliner in the mix as well. Kyle Lewis back there. Nick Kessler, Adam Dama. Dama in the number 28 machine there. Then Jason Shue back there. Adam Lickey, Johnny Williams, who, believe it or not, folks, that number 69 currently running shotgun on the field. Wouldn't look like it right now as you see the running order, but Johnny Williams was the fastest driver in practice earlier tonight. He's running the MaxGrafix.co number 69 Ford F-150, currently running in 33rd. Scott Tompkins is the out-of-race official, did not start the race here tonight. But speaking of Scotts, Philip Scott continuing to lead the race as we now work lap number 10. And technically, if you do the math here tonight, it's a 260-mile event here tonight. 10 extra miles, 4 additional laps that could determine the outcome of the race. But at least in the early going, Drew, Philip Scott out front with Jordan Scheffler back behind him. Those two have pretty much been nose to tail now for quite some time, and Scott's really enjoying the clean air on the nose of the National Ninja League F-150.
Yeah, and you know, we've been seeing pretty consistent 3-wide racing up here towards, I guess, the top 15, because when you have trucks running 3 wide, you can get quite a few positions and not a lot of space on track. But Peter, to me, despite this 3 wide that's going on at Talladega, very doable. Daytona, a lot more sketchy. Here at Talladega, you can run 4 wide even if you have guys that feel really confident running next to each other. It's, can you make it to that first pit stop? If you can get through that first round of pit stops, to me, there's a very, very high likelihood that you're going to have not just a long green flag run, but potentially a green race throughout. And so can these guys make it that far, as Philip Scott, I believe for the first time here, Peter, now potentially might not lead a lap as that high lane got some momentum. It's going to be close. They're going to get a really good run through this tri-oval, as that very bottom lane through the tri-oval definitely has less banking. You can carry a little bit less speed, and that's why you see that really late surge that high line gets. I can't quite tell who got the lead, waiting for timing. Tristan Maher leads that lap by 0.004 seconds. Does he take that lead from Philip Scott here on leading lap 11, now on lap 12? But Peter, what do you think the fuel window is going to be here tonight at Talladega? I believe these guys are running, is it 75 or 100% fuel? I'm looking through it right now. 70% fuel. What do you think that pit window is going to be?
Well, usually when you come here, it's about 32 or so laps when you're on a full tank. So I don't expect them to make it much past lap number 21 here, as William Kerwin now going to jump up to the high line. Ooh, connection issues on the 07, the Kerwin Racing Ford F-150. And with no one out there to help draft with him, he's going to drop to the back of the pack. But Maher kind of, I wouldn't say he got shuffled back, but a power move from Jason Gracias has now got the MaxGrafix.co number 1 up into the race lead as they head towards the back stretch here. You can definitely see that front pack. In fact, if you're looking for that second pack of trucks right now, they're just now coming into the picture here. That is the gap between your front group of trucks and this pack right here, coming at you right now, led by the Taz Racing Customs number 11 machine of Chris Darling, who went to victory lane last night at the Martinsville Speedway in the Beer Street Journal Grand National Series. Of course, it's the BeerStreetJournal.com 250. Maybe that will bode well for Chris Darling. Got his second win, of the season in that particular series last night. But looks like Maher gets a big push from the number 25 of Randy Perdue, and Maher challenging back for the race lead. TJ Buck in the Captain Crunch machine, now third truck on the high line. Great to see him up there. And in the blue and chrome machine, the 4th Chevy Silverado up there on the high line. That is the 81 of Randy Bledsoe. So we got the two Randys working together right now with the TJ Buck, the meat in the sandwich of the Randys, and Josh Sobel, the 5th truck in line on the high line. And speaking of the Sobels, we got Rich Sobel in the chat here tonight, saying it's an awfully quiet chat here tonight. Well, Rich, maybe that's because we haven't gone over to you guys yet. I've been keeping my eyes on the food, and we got Stay Tuned Sports making smoked mac and cheese. And then Rich is making chocolate peanut butter brownies right now. Well, if you have any way of getting those things, either of those things, to either the DFW area or the Austin area, send them our way. Hopefully they'll still be good, but I'll tell you what, both of those things sound really, really good here tonight.
Yeah, Peter. My dinner consisted of a certain Padre Juan's pizza. They don't sponsor us, so they don't get a full mention. And then again, some delicious beer, thanks to Pine House Brewery. But going on here, Jason Gracias on that inside lane, Tristan Maher on that outside lane, still vying for that top spot. But Peter, one thing I'm definitely noticing is if you want to win the race, I think that high lane is going to be the way to go. If they are double file throughout multiple rows of trucks, I think that high lane is going to have that advantage coming to the start-finish line. Now, granted, all sorts of chaos is probably going to happen in that scenario, but if it's more straightforward like we're seeing now, I think that high lane is the lane to go. The question is, does Tristan stay up there? No, he doesn't. As I say that, he cuts down to that bottom lane, and that's kind of curious, Peter, as we've seen that high lane be quicker and quicker. It's always interesting when guys abandon that quicker lane instead of choosing that bottom lane here temporarily. I think it's working out for that number 17 machine, but here comes that outside lane charging back to the outside of that number 17.
Yeah, you're absolutely right, Drew. That high line has a full head of steam, and the 25 of Randy Perdue will lead that lap. Now he cuts down in front of Tristan Maher, gives TJ Buck and Randy Bledsoe the opportunity to work together to get themselves up to the front of the field. Now, I was just keeping my eyes out of the corner of the screen at Stan Hausman. There he is. And now, Drew, I think Stan is possibly getting into that zone where the BeerStreetJournal.com machine might start to lose the draft just a little bit. Do want to give a big shout out to Beer Street Journal, the best in beer. Make sure you check them out. BeerStreetJournal.com here tonight in the 250 miles. But as I say that, looks like he got a great draft off the back of Garrett Gleason, just enough to pull him almost back to the Choman's Care number 7 machine. So Hausman, he's playing this race smart. And remember, last season, Drew, Stan Hausman walked away with the checkered flag here at Talladega Superspeedway, punched his ticket into the playoffs that we had last season in the Stay Tuned Sports Podcast Truck Series, and there was an opportunity for Stan Hausman to come away kind of as a, kind of a dark horse champion at one point last season. So he has a lot riding on this race here tonight. It was his first win in the series. He knows how to get the job done, so we can't rule him out before the end of the night. We're closing in, though, on what we believe will be green flag pit stops in the next, I'd say next 4 to 5 laps. That would be my guesstimation, as looks like Josh Sobel now going to drop in behind Jason Gracias on that inside groove. TJ Buck and the 81, or Randy Bledsoe pushing that outside line.
Yeah, well, Peter, Beer Street Journal, the sponsor of tonight's race, so I figured I'd, throw out some beer facts while things are a little bit calm right now. Did you know, Peter, beer is the 3rd most popular drink overall in the world behind water and tea, and that beer was first brewed 13,000 years ago in Mesopotamia. How about that?
I don't know if they have any of that Mesopotamian beer left, but I wonder what it tasted like back then. Probably not quite as good as what we have now, but speaking of stuff, we got stuff happening out there on the racetrack. Actually, more so stuff happening on pit road, as this group of drivers finally able to make it down pit road. Tristan Maher, Philip Scott, looks like Jason Grassi getting to his pit box, Josh Sobel, Jordan Scheffler, the number 12 of John NSRA Jr. coming down pit road as well. Curious to know if any of the back group decided to come down pit road. Looks like they did not. So looks like we have takers here on lap number 19. Maybe a couple of laps earlier than I expected, but still kind of give or take in the same realm of where I expected trucks to come down pit road. Stay tuned Sports saying, here's a fact about Drew, or here's a fact, Drew, beer is the number one drink amongst Eagles fans. It's probably the number one drink among most fans in the NFL. So anyway, we got a group of drivers on pit road. Sorry about the camera work, folks. It can sometimes be fairly difficult to pick up these drivers. Zach Stash on pit road, Thomas Kowick, and Ryan Bolstridge all coming down to their pit box. A couple of relatively new names to the Stay Tuned Sports Podcast Truck Series here in their pit box. Only 3 trucks, however, here pitting on lap number 20, but it is lap number 21 this time, and I wouldn't be at all surprised here, Drew, if TJ Buck leads a good horde of trucks down to their pit crews.
Yeah, it's kind of one of those conundrums that you experience in super speedway racing is when to pit. When you pit amongst a big group, like I am anticipating turning a hard left right here, we do. Oh, that's exactly what I was talking about, Peter. That's exactly what I was going to say, is the different entries onto pit lane almost disastrous for TJ Buck is he got a bump from Randy Bledsoe on pit entry. And again, I don't think that there was any intent from that number 81 machine, just a different marker in which that 81 thought he had to get on those brakes and slow down getting onto pit road, and that almost turned the 84 machine. I know I've experienced that on multiple occasions here in these super speedway races, is just how chaotic pit road entry can be. I was interested to see the 84 did not speed, gets a clean exit out of his pit stall. I was really worried about TJ Buck, as that bump right there at that last second can absolutely cause a speeding penalty. Good to see TJ Buck get a clean exit off of pit road. And as far as I'm concerned, Peter, I think this has been a pretty clean pit cycle.
Yeah, that was about the only thing that we have seen. Meanwhile, the group of trucks led by Philip Scott that came down pit road, they got just a stellar pit road entry and exit, and as such, they have now broken free just a little bit. Got Maher, Gracias now, Sobel running in fourth, Jordan Scheffler, John Cannizzaro, and the number 33 there, Jeffrey Johnson Jr. Haven't really mentioned his name here tonight. He has, of course, a great-looking truck right there. There it is, a New Edge Auto Detailing Ford F-150. He now sits inside the top 10, but look at that gap, Drew, back to the number 81 of Randy Bledsoe. Now, that isn't an insurmountable gap, but those trucks back there, they're going to have to work together, stay in line if they want to catch back up to the back of Jeffrey Johnson Jr.
Yeah, it's interesting to see that the larger group of trucks that pitted later comes out behind the smaller group, because they work single file. They work together to not pass each other, to not jockey for track position, which ultimately results in faster lap times and them performing a Formula One style, road course style undercut on those drivers that waited till later. Though, Peter, I think some of these guys, primarily the number 81 and 25, who are kind of more forward amongst the truck that pitted later, are in a pretty good position to potentially catch back up. But now looking at Vincent Valvano in that number, he was 04 previously. I'm looking through my timing and scoring and failing miserably and finding out where Vincent Valvano is. But that's the number 7 of Garrett Gleason. I do know that, Peter, so I can click on that truck and figure it out. Now the 64 of Vincent Valvano, as my eyesight was not doing a great job right there. Running in 15th position, number 7 machine of Garrett Gleason. In 16th position, not Drew Gleason, folks, Garrett Gleason, the one and only actual Drew, is up here in the booth today to to pretentiously refer to myself in the third person. But back up front, Philip Scott with Tristan Maher right behind him. And what a great job that these drivers did right here in this front pack of attempting to separate themselves a little bit from the drivers behind them. Though, Peter, like we suspected, those front-running trucks of that second group have caught up. And I believe about the first 13 trucks now are in this lead pack.
Yeah, basically everyone from your current race leader, Philip Scott, back to Jordan Dworchik in the 03 are all together. Then you have about a 4-second gap back to that small group that we're just watching, led by Vincent Valvano in the 64, Garrett Gleason in the number 7, Travis White, Nathan Maurer, Matt Cherry, Justin White, William Kerwin in that group. Then, behind them, you have a whopping 9 seconds back to the 21st place, Joshua Corner, who's leading Stan Hausman, Ryan Bolstridge, Garrett Austin. There's only 4 trucks in that little train. Then you have to go back another 8 seconds to Doug Milliner, Chris Darling, Ben Mashburn. There's only 3 trucks in that train. Then you have to go back another 9 seconds to Adam Lichty and Jason Shue. And then you've got a couple of trucks scattered around the racetrack. Kyle Lewis by himself, Adam Dama by himself, in danger of falling down a lap here very, very soon. Nick Kessler had a very long pit stop. Same thing with Johnny Williams. So the 88 and the number 69, we believe possible pit road speeding penalties for both of those drivers. They are currently being scored 1 lap down here. In fact, there goes the 28 of Adam Dama falling 1 lap down. But if a caution flag was to come out here, Drew, our good friends, of course, over at the Brookstone Animal Hospital, they have the Lucky Dog Award that they give out here under the caution flag. And, of course, Brookstone Animal Hospital located in the greater Atlanta, Georgia area. And, Drew, this might be a little bit painful for you coming from originally the Houston area. But Atlanta Braves, for the first time since 1995, are your World Series champion. And I'm sure that will make some people relatively happy out there on the racetrack, but right now the happiest on the racetrack by far is Philip Scott, who's led the most laps here tonight, started on the craigsetupshop.co.uk poll.
Yeah, I mean, had 2017 not happened, Peter, it would hurt a lot more. It's really cool as a lifelong Astros fan to experience 2017, so I can absolutely understand the sentiments felt by Atlanta Braves fans. I was a big Chipper Jones guy back in the day. Greg Maddux as well. I was always a fan of him. So I've always had a soft spot in my heart for the Atlanta Braves, and congratulations to them, Astros, once again in the World Series, but haven't been able to get it done since 17. But hey, no complaints from me, considering that the Astros prior to that had never won a World Series in their, 60-plus years of existence. So congratulations to those Atlanta Braves fans out there, and congratulations to those Philip Scott fans out there thus far, to not go a little too far in that. On lap 28 now, Philip Scott, I think, has been kind of the dominant driver here, Peter, as in just a few laps won't reach the 1/3 mark. And again, I think we've reached that magical threshold of starting to stratify that field post first green flag pit stop. And as we get more green flag stops under our belt, the field will continue to kind of separate itself. And I think the longer we get in this race, the higher likelihood that we could potentially, not to jinx it, have a green flag race as far as the entirety is concerned.
Yeah, but these drivers are going to have to watch coming down pit road. I mean, we saw that contact between TJ Buck there and the number 81 of Randy Bledsoe. That little bit of contact almost triggered a multi-truck accident, but we have not had that so far here in the BeerStreetJournal.com 250. Mitchell Adams joining us in the chat saying, I'm late here, but just in time to watch some racing. Mitchell, hopefully you're having a good night. We've been green flag in the opening 29 laps here at Talladega Super Speedway, but a long way to go here tonight. 260 miles for these drivers in the National Sim Racing Association Stay Tuned Sports Podcast Truck Series. Of course, we got Stay Tuned Sports in the chat, and while you're here, why don't you check out the description of the video. If you're watching on PC, you can go check out that link and find the Podbean link, I should say, to the Stay Tuned Sports Podcast, and you can have a listen here this week. Brantley Roden also just strolling into the 3 Wide TV chat. How's it going, Brantley? Hopefully you're having a good Friday afternoon. It is the weekend here, and I'm going to enjoy this weekend. I'll tell you what, it has been a struggle the past couple of days for me personally, but the weekend is here, and we got race trucks out there on the racetrack, 30 laps down, all green flags so far. A little bit of a change from last night if you were here on the channel for the Beer Street Journal Grand National Series at Martinsville. We had 10 caution flags in the opening 100 laps. In fact, 11 caution flags in the opening 100 laps, but here we are here tonight. Hopefully we have nowhere close to that amount of caution flags here at Talladega Super Speedway, and we are well on track to get to maybe even a caution-free race, knock on wood. But Mitchell Adams in the chat, sorry Drew, I was just cut you off, says he's trying to get the NASCAR Ignition game to work, got tired of it. I have not heard good things about NASCAR Ignition so far. Maybe they'll patch it up, fix it up, but I think iRacing is the place to be right now.
Oh, yeah, Peter, I just did not correctly interpret a pause in your speech. My apologies there. Yeah, I mean, I think it would be great for NASCAR to kind of have a console game a la Madden or the MLB The Show or NBA 2K or kind of those games. I think that, or the F1 games, to be honest. I think that makes kind of the sport more accessible. I kind of fear for the path that NASCAR's chosen to go down, so anything they can do to make the sport more appealing to wider audiences, I think will inevitably help the sport. I hope that Ignition figures their stuff out, but we know where the real simulation's at regarding stock cars, stock trucks, racing in general is concerned, especially, Peter, with that exciting news that we are going to get the 2021 Mercedes Formula One car. I cannot wait for that. And the 2022 Mercedes F1 car as well. We know iRacing is the place to be if you want to experience as close to what you can in real life as possible. You're watching the right racing and you're in the right sim, as Philip Scott, Peter, is doing a fantastic job in managing this race. Sometimes it's good to not overthink it and kind of over-manage the lines that kind of come up. We've seen that high lane kind of come up and challenge and then fade and come up and challenge and fade. But one thing we've seen from this 99 machine is just maintaining his position on that bottom line, and it has really worked out thus far.
Yeah, the low line is obviously quite strong. I mean, we've seen some charges from that outside groove, but not for quite some time now, as we see a couple of other trucks now fall one lap down. That was the number 3 of Jason Shu and the number 51 of Adam Lichty there in the Rowdy Energy Toyota Tundra. Still a couple of trucks suffering from some connection issues. We also have the number 18 of Kyle Lewis now one lap down. So we're currently at the stage with about 6 trucks sitting one lap down, trying to get a Brookstone Animal Hospital Lucky Dog Award, hoping to see a caution flag. At least they are. Most of the rest of the field, however, especially this lead pack, hoping that it stays green flag. It is still right on 13 lead lap trucks in this lead pack. There is the 04 Thomas Koeck in the Bass Pro machine. He is the last of the lead lap trucks in the lead train. We see Jason Shu back behind him, just went one lap down. And the 03 in front of them, that's Jordan Dworacic. Dworacic making his league debut, I believe, here tonight, at least his Stay Tuned Sports Truck Series debut, sporting a Dale Earnhardt GM Goodwrench Service Plus machine on the 03 here in tonight's BeerStreetJournal.com 250. As we work lap number 35, your lead train now single files out. Let's go check out the second pack of trucks. Now just about 6 or so seconds behind, 6.5 seconds behind that lead pack. You got Matt Cherry in the number 54, the Stay Tuned Sports Toyota, right behind the Simbox 971 of Nathan Maurer, and they're just pushing each other, trying to do all they can to try and catch up, I should say, to the front pack, but not being lucky so far. Travis White, Justin White paired up together, the 23 and the 2, and then William Kerwin back there in the 07, and then you got the 64, Vincent Valvano, and the 7 of Garrett Gleason in this 7 truck crew. We mentioned a little while ago that Chris Darling was in a small group of trucks. Well, I think that group of trucks has grown a little bit as Darling and Doug Milliner, Ben Mashburn there in the 4. They have, I think, Nick Kessler in the Taz Racing Customs, number 88. He's 1 lap down. Stan Hausman in this group, the number 9 machine in this group of Joshua Horner, Ryan Bolstridge, and Johnny Williams kind of tailing this group a little bit. Williams is 1 lap down in the MaxGrafix.co F-150, and Johnny needs to be really getting to the back bumper of that number 95, see if he can get him back to this group. But one thing I'm thinking about here, Drew, is we're very quickly, believe it or not, closing in on our second round of pit stops here tonight at Talladega.
Yeah, lap 37 past the 1/3 mark, kind of rapidly closing in on our halfway mark. Just in 12 or so laps here, we will reach that halfway mark. And yeah, Peter, I think everybody's trying to get to that point before they have to pit again, because then, of course, you'll only have one more pit stop. If you can make it to that halfway mark, as that 99 continues to lead. And Peter, one thing that I kind of was looking at is on in that first stretch prior to the first pit stops, we saw the 11 of Chris Darling, the number 4 of Ben Mashburn, and kind of the surrounding drivers form that second lane. And you know, it's certainly not a horrible strategy if you think that there is some really aggressive driving going on early in the race where there might be a big wreck, but those drivers are 31.5 seconds behind the drivers that we're looking at now. Now, Chris Darling, Ben Mashburn in pretty good position in points with those wins, you know, depending on what happens here tonight. Looking pretty good as far as the chase is concerned, but that's just not a great feeling to see that gap growing as it has for that now 21st place number 11 machine of Chris Darling. Is Philip Scott and these front drivers are doing a really good job in racing, trying to jockey for position, but not taking it too far where you're kind of risking what you've worked so hard to build with just positioning yourself in these first 13 trucks and giving yourself a really good shot at potentially vying for this race win later on.
And I think we might be starting to see those drivers really start to jockey for that track position, get into pit road right now, because we know that is coming up here very, very shortly. And I think that's honestly why we start to see 2 distinct lines now forming. The outside line is led by Adam Dama, the number 28 Ford F-150. He's 1 lap down, trying to get his lap back the old-fashioned way. With TJ Buck, the Captain Crunch Chevy Silverado back behind him. Also, you see the number 18, that's the blue and pink machine, kind of on the right-hand side of your screen on the inside line. 4th truck on the inside line, I should say. That number 18 is also 1 lap down, trying to race for that lucky dog position. So it's kind of a race within a race here with the trucks that are on the lead lap vying for the overall race lead, and then the other trucks 1 lap down trying to get in position where they can get that Brookstone Animal Hospital Lucky Dog Award, as you see the sun glinting off some of these trucks that have a chrome layer. Now we'll see some of these trucks head down pit road. Tristan Maher coming down pit road in his number 17 as they start to fan out. Drew, this is the same group of trucks, I believe, that we saw come down pit road first on lap number 19 here tonight. Now they'll come down on lap number 40 as some of these trucks having difficulty finding their pit stall. Here comes Philip Scott. We know he's got the easiest pit stall to find, as he has the first pit stall right at the end of pit road. And the number 18, Kyle Lewis, missed his pit stall. That's going to be bad news for him. He was trying to get the lucky dog spot, but he's not going to get that. And now we're hearing maybe something else has happened to Kyle Lewis, as he's just said, nope, I'm done tonight. Here comes another group of trucks coming down pit road. Sorry about that, folks, as the number 18 has called it quits here tonight. It looks like this other group of trucks all headed down to find their pit box. This was the 3rd pack of trucks, and they're getting service right now on pit road.
Yeah, Peter, pit stops occurring as we speak. Multiple drivers, multiple teams coming down onto pit lane, but this number 03 machine that we're looking at right now of Jordan Dwarchik not coming down pit road, hoping to stay out a little bit longer. And Peter, we aren't quite at halfway. So that tells me that we are going to have likely 2 more stops, depending on how early these guys pitted. I would assume that they are stretching it as far as they think they need to, as far as getting to 1 more stop. But it's going to be interesting to see what do you know when the first lap that those guys who just pitted is now. We see the number 03 machine. And do you think these drivers could stretch it to 1 more pit stop?
No, they're gonna. So these drivers right now, they're coming down onto pit road on lap number 42. They're gonna have to pit again on lap number 63 and lap number 84. Now that last stop on lap number 84 might be a little bit of a short stop because they will be able to just take about a half tank of fuel. At least, 03 just slid through his pit box a little bit there. They don't have to take on as much fuel, so that will give them a benefit. But again, this round of pit stops, Drew, the field has broken up some more. This is the group of trucks that we believe will be your race leaders. Philip Scott, the number 17, Tristan Maher, John Cannizzaro in this group, the 1, Jason Gracias, and I believe Josh Sobel will just be able to hold on to this top 5 pack. Then you have, there's Koick really having a difficult time getting off of pit lane and back out there onto the racetrack. But behind Sobel, we'll kind of bring this up. There's Sobel there. Then you have the 13 of Scheffler all by himself. Then back behind him, you got Randy Perdue. Then Koick and some of the other drivers coming off pit road. Now we look a little bit further back because this group back here that we at one point said was kind of our second group of trucks, they seemed a little bit more formed up. Maybe this will give them an opportunity to stay together, work together, and now that they have more numbers than the 5-truck front pack, maybe they can start to close in on some of these other smaller groups and pick up some more trucks and start to make some headway on the front.
Yet they certainly need to, right, Peter? I think as you look at these laps quickly whittle away, you're really trying to figure out, what do I need to do to position myself in the possibility that this race continues to go green, because it certainly has that feel as now that front group is now down to 5 trucks, then the second group about another 5 trucks, and we're really starting to see the field fracture. I think the second group, though, is close to 10, maybe 8, 9 trucks there in that second group. But this is kind of what you really risk by riding out towards the back, is that you're going to get enough cautions to where you might not lose a lap. And I'm really looking at that number 11, the 4 machine, now 38 and a half seconds behind our leader. Peter, things are not looking great for those guys now. All it takes is 1 caution, but we're seeing this number 99 of Philip Scott lead this front pack into a group of about 5 trucks, which is going to make this group even faster and catch those guys at the tail end at a more rapid rate.
Yeah, that is true. So your front pack, we talked about them. Now they were 5. Now they're going to be 10 with them catching some of these lapped trucks. One of those drivers is the number 81 machine right there, Randy Bledsoe. Did want to highlight Randy was one of the drivers under this last period of pit stops to receive a speeding penalty. Randy Bledsoe was on that list. Adam Lichty as well for pit road issues. Jason Chu, not sure what happened to him. He did not have a long pit stop per se, but an extremely long pit lane time for the number 3. Not sure if he missed his pit box and had to reverse or something into his box, but some really long pit stop times. And unfortunate for the number 81, who's been up there near the front of the field here today. He finds himself now 1 lap down to your leaders. But this is not good news for those other drivers trying to close in on this front pack, because they caught the lap traffic, and the lap traffic now gives them back big numbers, and they'll presumably be able to start to pull away. Granted, they have to deal with the lap trucks, but I'm sure that won't be all too concerning to them. Unfortunately, one of those lap trucks is last year's race winner here at Talladega Superspeedway, the BeerStreetJournal.com number 39 machine of Stan Hausman. He is hailing from the Atlanta, Georgia area, and I'm sure he's happy to hear about the Atlanta Braves, but I don't think he's very happy to here tonight that we have been green flagged through the first 46 and a half laps at the Talladega Super Speedway. And as I say that, Stan Houseman gets turned up into the wall. Caution flag is out. I just need to be shut up. Unfortunately, that involves a BeerStreetJournal.com Ford F-150, and last year's race winner here at Talladega is out here just before halfway.
Hey, airtime for Bear Street Journal, though. I mean, as somebody who enjoys a good beer on occasion, sad to see that number 39 machine go out. But it sure is a good-looking truck, so happy to see it on the screen. But yeah, now we're going to get a replay of exactly what happened to Stan Houseman there on the backstretch on lap 46. As we continue to try to get that right position. Here we go, Peter. Going down the backstretch in single file. Looks fairly straightforward. This is how quickly things can happen here at Talladega. And when things just kind of happen at the exact wrong moment, you see the 39 of Stan Houseman start to close in on the 57 of Josh Sobel with that number 34 machine on his tailgate. Looks like Stan just gets offset. Boom. And there you go. The 34 just can't quite let off in time. Hooks that number 39 machine, that Beer Street Journal truck, into the outside wall. Boom. Huge hit. I think the 9 actually scooted through that there, Peter. An outstanding job by that number 9 machine of Joshua Corner there, as a huge hit by Stan Houseman. Actually, no, I think the number 9 got a piece of that. I do. Looking back on the replay myself. But here you go, Peter. This is kind of one of those horrible things that can happen. You get that hook, boom, into the outside wall. And ooh, I think, did the 9 escape? I mean, he hit that 39 truck, but did iRacing grant a bit of mercy to that number 9 machine of Josh Corner?
Yeah, I think the number 9 is going to be all right. It's looking square on our end. Now, that doesn't always mean that is the case on iRacing's end. Now, we're just waiting to see who is going to get the first the first lucky dog presented by our friends over at Brookstone Animal Hospital here tonight. The number 25 of Randy Purdue elected to stay out. Philip Scott, on the other hand, did come down pit road. So some interesting changes there. I think maybe Adam Dama, perhaps, maybe getting his lap back. I'm not 100%. Keep our eyes on that. It might be Dama. It might not be at this moment in time. In fact, I'm hearing, oh, there it is. The number 81 of Randy Bledsoe. He gets back on the lead lap by means of the Brookstone Animal Hospital Lucky Dog Award. Finally able to sort out who it is. And that will feel good, Drew, because, of course, he made that pit road speeding mistake. And now he gets another shot. We saw a lot of pace out of that Chevy Silverado earlier in the show.
Yeah, we certainly did. We saw him do really well on that pit road entry, though. Maybe a little hot. Maybe that's kind of ultimately what cost that number 81 machine. But good to see him back on the lead lap. And a reprieve for basically everyone else in the field above that number 81 machine. So 22nd on up is pretty excited about this caution, Peter, because essentially here, now at halfway, we no longer have the Beer Street Journal 250 actually 260. We have the Beer Street Journal 125 actually 130, as we have just about 130 miles left, a little bit less than that when we go green. But essentially everyone who's kept their trucks clean is now rewarded. But now, Peter, I think the intensity is really going to ramp up.
Yeah, I mean, the first half of the race is behind us, as you see some other trucks peeling down onto pit roads. So this will be the cross flags this time here at the Talladega Super Speedway. We're keeping our eyes on Randy Purdue, who is your race leader, did not come down pit road. A couple of other trucks in front of him will be taking the wave around, those being the number 9 and the number 51. Ben Mashburn in the number 4, he came down pit road, and he came down pit road on lap number 47, a lap before everyone else here, Drew. And somehow Ben Mashburn's going to be up there in second. So I'm not sure what iRacing did there, but Ben Mashburn did pit under this caution flag, and he's now being scored in second in the Chester's Chicken Ford F-150. So not sure if iRacing kind of opened pit road for him only. That might have been the case, but he took that opportunity to pole vault himself now up to second. As you see, the pace truck lights are off.
Yeah, we are quickly reforming this field behind that pace truck, and yeah, a little bit of a mix-up now. That 99 machine of Philip Scott no longer our leader, going to be restarting in third with Randy Perdue and Ben Mashburn now going to be restarting this race on the front row. I gotta say, I love that number 4 machine, that Chester's Chicken scheme going on for Ben Mashburn in that ultra patriotic number 25 machine there, restarting in the race lead of Randy Perdue. But yeah, a little bit of a mix-up, Peter, a little bit of a reset. Quite a few drivers who are running up front, still up front. But I think the number 4 machine of Ben Mashburn, what's his fuel situation look like, Peter, real quick before this restart?
Well, he came on down pit road on lap number 41, so we know he can get to around lap number 62 with this caution flag, maybe lap number 63, so about 13 laps until the 25 has to come down pit road to see his pit crew. But here comes the iRacing pace truck onto pit road, and the race will be in the hands of the number 25 machine here as we're into the back half of tonight's race. And tonight's big winner on When Will the Big One Happen was going to be lap number 60. Oh my goodness, this restart is not a good restart, and some people checking up, some people going early, and somehow, some way, Ben Mashburn in the number 4 is going to come away as your race leader. That was all types of discombobulation in the field.
Got to imagine that number 25 machine missed a shift or something. Yeah, that was a really funky restart. It'll be interesting to see what race control has to say about that. I have driver chat kind of really turned down, so it's not bleeding through my commentary, but certainly a lot of communication going on right now between race control and that number 25 that we're looking at right now. It'll be interesting to see how that all is scored. But that 25 really looked like he did not get a good restart right there. I got to imagine that maybe he hit a gate in his H pattern and didn't quite get that thing into maybe third or fourth gear, probably third gear right there, going into turn 1. As I mean, honestly, not a huge penalty for the number 25, but certainly could have been a big penalty for the number 4 machine, though a blessing there for Tristan Maher, who is now our race leader.
Yeah, Maher in that number 17 with a little bit of help from behind with Jason Gracias in the MaxGrafix number 1. Now Perdue is going to be the third truck on the inside line. Mashburn on the outside. We got the 4 and the 04 working together. Thomas Kohik there in the 04, the Bass Pro machine. We saw him a little bit further back in the pack and not with the lead pack after that last round of pit stops, but now he is up there battling for the race lead. He's got the 23 of Travis White behind him. Matt Cherry in the 54 now up there in that group as well. Meanwhile, Drew, I do want to mention that towards the back of this group, there's Nick Kessler, Jordan Shepler. Some of these trucks really broken up really early on. Not sure if they maybe got stacked up on the restart or something. Maybe that's something you can go back and investigate, but these drivers back here really already starting to lose the main draft. Maybe they're expecting a big accident or something coming up here soon, but there is the lead pack. You can see them racing off towards turn number 3, and watch Matt Cherry right here. He's going to split the middle. Going to go to the high side. I think that was a very good heads-up move by the 04. Realized that he might have been 3 wide and just said, you know what, I'm going to live to fight another day. In the 04 machine, he was vying for a top 5 a couple laps ago. Now going to find himself all the way outside of the top 10. In fact, he's going to fall back to, I believe, the 13th position here, right in front of Travis White. Then Garrett Gleason in the number 7, the Choman's Care machine, just now appearing back into the picture. He's running 15th right now, but plenty of time for this race to go on. Of course, tonight, folks, is the BeerStreetJournal.com 250. If you have not checked out the BeerStreetJournal.com, now is the time to do so as we're in the back half of the race. You can see the sun is slowly setting here at Talladega Super Speedway. We ride on board with the number 7 machine of Garrett Gleason. Stan Hausman in the chat, last year's winner here at Talladega, was hoping to go back to, contact! There's a wreck! Real right on board with Garrett Gleason, and he gets some contact from behind, gets turned down, gets up the racetrack. He's still getting bumped around, and somehow Garrett Gleason did one heck of a job avoiding that accident. You see damage in the rear, though, but that was not good for a couple of drivers. Drew, let's figure out what happened right there.
Yeah, certainly a not insubstantial wreck, as I am kind of going through this as well, trying to figure out exactly where this started. Right towards the front of the pack here, Peter, is where this started. Yeah, William Kerwin, I believe, is going to give Matt Cherry a little bit of a bump right there. There you go. That number 4 machine, or 54 machine rather, turns the number 4 machine hard into that outside. Huge hit for Ben Mashburn. And then, Peter, you have the entirety of the field, save Tristan Maher, trying to figure out where to go here. And we're going to see a bunch of trucks not be able to avoid this. Boom, boom. You see a bunch of shots happening there. Now in the middle of the screen, Chris Darling involved. Who's going to be able to avoid Darling? Is that truck going to miss him? Wow, he does. But I think that puts that truck on a trajectory it does to murder that 30 truck on the highway. And sometimes, Peter, you cause a bigger wreck by trying to avoid a smaller one. But I think Chris Darling more or less escaped from that, but some really big hits throughout the field.
Yeah, let's see if we can go see Chris Darling there, because this could be an interesting ride, and we're right on board with him. But yeah, a little bit of contact between, I think, William Kerwin and the 54 Matt Cherry, like you said, Drew. On board here with Darling. Oh, he did get clipped from Mashburn, and then watches all these cars going around, and there's Adama mounting the number 30. There's Kerwin going down. Chepler's killing the green cone. Let's see if we can get another look at this now. From on board with Matt Cherry, looking out back. Watch this little bump right there. Just a little bit of a bumper grab, and Matt Cherry gets really thrown around. Ben Mashburn getting involved. Look at the 11 getting airborne, and Chris Darling and Dama coming in there, getting into the number 30 truck, and somehow Cherry probably doesn't have a lot of damage. Folks, I don't know if that's enough to classify as the big one. I think that's big enough to classify as the big one. We'll see as the night goes on. But let's get another look here. Thomas Koeck here in the 04 machine. How did he get through this accident in the 04? He says, I'm just going to send it down here to the bottom, but definitely got a piece of, I think, the spinning number 11 right there. Some right front damage on his machine. But now we really need to go back and see what happened to the number 30, I think, here, Drew. Because he got quite a bit of damage. Here we go. Watch him right here. Heavy into Ben Mashburn. And Sobel squeaking on through. Look at Josh Sobel there getting on through. And then Adam Dama throwing him up airborne. Let's see if we can get it on board with Josh Sobel, because Sobel's going to be a fun one to ride on board with in this whole conundrum as well. Just trying to go back here, folks. There we go. Get him the onboard. There we go. Watch Sobel navigate his way through this one, Drew.
Yeah, I mean, you're just reacting to chaos. Like, right? I mean, I could try to take you through a play-by-play, but what the 57 is doing is just trying to point his wheel where the trucks don't seem like they're going, and it just kind of worked out for him. A really good job by the 57 to just kind of not panic brake, which I think is kind of the reaction of a lot of guys, is just to slam on the brakes as hard as you can, but just to let off the brakes, which is kind of what my tactic is to do. Whenever you see a wreck, if you get on the brakes too much, now you can't really maneuver the truck, right? Because if you're braking, you're taking away the ability to move the truck around. So I mean, certainly what I do, and I think what that number 57 machine did, was to let off the brakes, let off the gas, give 100% of the grip available to that truck to maneuvering around the wreck, and just kind of picking your way through it. And that's exactly what that 57 machine did. Kept his cool, kept calm, and just kind of figured out where the path was and made it through there. And now has a really, really good shot, given the amount of trucks that are still healthy left in this race, to go up there and try to compete for a win here in the BeerStreetJournal.com 250. You there, Pete?
Yeah, I'm here. Sorry about that. It is BeerStreetJournal.com 260. I was just looking over at my iPad. Got a notification, and sometimes those things are more distracting than they're worth. Isn't that right, folks? Rich Sobel saying that he's got the brownies in the oven. Rich, come on, buddy. Send them along. Stay tuned Sports saying, wife just said all that smoke looks like a lot of Mary Jane going on. There was a lot of smoke out there on the racetrack and made it difficult for some of the drivers in the back, I think, to see that incident here. But big shout out to friends over at BeerStreetJournal.com for sponsoring tonight's race. Brantley Roden in the chat as well, rooting on the 57 of Josh Sobel, who now finds himself fourth place overall, and that number 57 there on the outside. And Stay Tuned Sports saying the mac and cheese is done. I could go for some mac and cheese, let me be honest right now, especially smoked mac and cheese. I think that's what you said it was. That just sounds delicioso. But we're right now coming to 41 laps to go, if my math serves me correct. The iRacing pace truck headed down pit road, and the field has been whittled down a little bit. Drivers experiencing pit stops that were longer than usual: Randy Perdue, Jason Gracias, Tristan Maher, Matt Cherry, Vincent Valvano, Doug Milliner, William Kerwin Jr., Jeffrey Johnson Jr., among others. But the green flag is going to wave here at Talladega again. Hopefully these drivers get through the gears this time nice and smoothly, and we will be back to green flag racing here on the BeerStreetJournal.com 260.
Here we go, Peter. A whole lot at stake as we are green flag racing here once again at Talladega with the number 99 machine of Philip Scott. Once again, Peter, big one maybe, potentially, depending on what happens here aside. That number 99 machine just seems to nonetheless find himself towards the front of the field as he is leading here on lap 58. Good Lord, I thought we were much closer to the end, given that huge wreck, which tends to happen really late in the race, happened just beyond halfway here. Is still 41 more laps, as a matter of fact, given where we are in the race. Here to go is Philip Scott with the number 12 machine. I believe that's John Cannizzaro. He tends to run different numbers depending on the series that we're in. Yes, that is the number 12 machine of John Cannizzaro with the number 03 behind him. And then TJ Buck, who, Peter, he's a driver that we have in the past seen a lot of speed out of in that number 84 Captain Crunch team, as you mentioned, a bit of a throwback. I think that if he can kind of refine his form, TJ Buck's going to be a guy that we have seen the capacity to run really well, especially at tracks like the more intermediate 1.5 mile tracks that we will definitely see more of here in the Stay Tuned Sports Podcast Truck Series. Though, Peter, I mean, I don't know if you noticed this, but we have quite a few less trucks in this main pack than we did that last restart.
Yeah, some of the drivers that we have seen staples at the front of the field, like Tristan Maher, getting significant damage in that last accident. The one of Jason Gracias, we saw him get some damage, but he's able so far to stick with the front pack in the MaxGrafix machine. The number 99, the Philip Scott, Drew, was really lucky. He was ahead of the accident, and, you know, to be in front of the accident, sometimes you have to be the race leader. Now, granted, I've also seen the race leader be involved in accidents as well, so sometimes you can't be in front of the accident, but he was just enough in front of the accident because it was the trucks pushing him, the number 17 and the number 1, who both got a good chunk of damage, although Maher still in the lead pack, the 5th truck on the inside, and the one of Gracias, the 7th truck on the inside line. But the big question is, do we think those trucks might be carrying a small amount of damage that might prevent them from being the fastest truck out there. We don't exactly know yet. Sometimes it's a little bit of a Russian roulette as to what type of damage you get in iRacing. Sometimes your truck is completely killed with just a scratch on it. Other times you can be really banged up, missing fenders, and be as fast as the leaders. And it always puzzles me here with the way iRacing runs, but it is what it is. It's the best we have, the best in the business. iRacing.com Motorsport Simulations. If you've never checked it out, it's a really cool pay-to-play subscription service where you can race on laser-scanned versions of racetracks with the best simulations of the cars that they have here in the iRacing simulator across any of the simulators out there. But Philip Scott continues to lead. TJ Buck now getting help from Travis White in the number 23 on that high line here. Drew, your leaders last pitted on lap number 55 under this last caution. So that should be able to get them to lap number 76 here tonight. And possibly lap number 97. Lap 97, if that sounds close to the end, it is. Just one lap away.
Yeah. It's not going to take a lot of saving for these guys to be able to make it to the end, Peter, but a lap here at Talladega is an awful lot of saving to do, and we'll see. It's going to be a big task.
And, of course, a good number of laps until the end of the race. If you're just now joining us here tonight on 3 Wide TV, the National Sim Racing Association Stay Tuned Sports Truck Series, the BeerStreetJournal.com 260, or 250. It was marketed as a 250, but it's actually a 260. If you're just now joining us, 2 caution flags in the opening 63 laps. We had the big one, I will claim it to be the big one, just a little while ago as TJ Buck has connection issues on the high line. You can see how much that affected that high line as Philip Scott and John Cannizzaro pushing their way now out clear at the front of the field. I'm sure Travis White, he's in a precarious position. TJ Buck having some connection issues, and you would think Travis White would be saying, all right, TJ, you've blinked a couple of times. Can you please get out of the way so we can kind of protect ourselves from further incident here?
Yeah, Peter, chaos is certainly never kind of beyond the horizon here at Talladega, and we've certainly had a lot of attrition, but it's I don't think the chaos is over by any stretch of the imagination. The question is if there's not, can any of these guys save enough fuel to potentially get them to that end? Is now the number 39 machine of Stan Houseman doing a really good job getting back out there in that Beer Street Journal machine and turning some more laps. But back up front, 84 TJ Buck challenging for the race lead.
Yeah, maybe he shouted at someone to get off the internet or something, because the 84 seems like he's having a stable connection. The field now catching up to Thomas Koeck in the 04. He will go a lap down, well off the pace, you can see, with all the damage. And unfortunately, Drew, I didn't expect him to be one of the more damaged trucks out there. He kind of just took a glancing blow. Jason Shue there in the number 3. Oh, TJ Buck, there's that connection issue again. And he's back. That's good news for him and the rest of the field. But unfortunately, Koeck seems to be severely damaged and off the pace. You're looking at your front pack right now. TJ Buck and Philip Scott, your top 2. Your front pack goes all the way back to Justin White in the 18th position. There he is. And then back behind him, unfortunately, Garrett Gleason, the number 7, looks like maybe a little bit too much damage on that number 7. He got ran over. We saw that. We were on board with him as he avoided the big accident. And I thought the 7 of Gleason wasn't going to be that badly damaged here, Drew. I thought he was going to be okay. We saw him take a couple of glancing blows. And unfortunately for the number 7, it seems like that damage is worse than I expected, at least.
Yeah, I mean, it's so strange how iRacing models damage. Sometimes your vehicle, as I believe the broadcast picked up, what was it, me at Daytona, I think, when I didn't have a front end in the Beer Street Journal Grand National Series on your end, but I was up to pace on mine. I was just kind of way beyond as far as kind of time given up. I think it was a lap down at that point. But sometimes your vehicle looks fine. You had a slight touch, and all of a sudden you're way off pace, and you have no chance of staying with the lead group, even though it was some minor contact. The 11 certainly, I kind of wanted those what I would expect, a little bit of minor contact, but it certainly seems like he can't keep up Chris Darling in that number 11. I believe that is the MaxGrafix / Taz Customs Racing Schemes number 11 machine. But back up front, Peter, we have still 18 trucks within 2 seconds of the race lead. Quite a bit of competition here trying to vie for that race win.
And still plenty of laps to get to the front. We're closing in on 31 laps to go this time by here on the channel. Expect to see these drivers on pit road with about 22 laps to go or so, 22, 23 laps. Let's see if these drivers can save enough fuel to make it to the end of the race. We think they might just be a little bit short on fuel from the point at which they came down pit road last. And at the very least, Drew, it might make for a very exciting final pit stop as TJ Buck continues to have connection issues up at the front of the field. Again, still having some major warping issues up there at the front. Again, he disappears. Again, he disappears. He's half on the he's half in cyberspace and he's half on the racetrack right now. And somehow, some way, the number 54, Matt Cherry, is being brave enough to continue to try and push the Captain Crunch machine. And you would start to think at this point maybe the race officials might get involved and might see if they can. And there goes TJ Buck. TJ going to go to the high side. I was just about to say, I think the race officials might need to get involved. Unfortunately, in TJ Buck's situation, I know he is, he's up there at the front. He does not want to drop to the back, but with his connection issues that he's having, it's just possibility for a big accident. Now he can get back, kind of slot back in line and kind of manage his own race, and hopefully the connection issues kind of calm down, if you will, as the lap count winds down. 30 more laps to go here at Talladega. We are under 100 miles left in tonight's race as we are solidly into the final third here, as Philip Scott, who was your CraigSetupShop.co.uk Pole Award winner at the top of the show, continues to lead. And I'm just wondering, Drew, maybe he should have done the Becoming Dr. Mashburn podcast challenge to start from the back of the field, because that number 99 has been fast all night long.
So yes, I would agree. He seemingly has this truck and this handling figured out, but he's also started from the pole, Peter. I don't think he would have been in the position that he's been all race if he took up that Becoming Dr. Mashburn challenge. When you're given that starting position, it's a lot easier to maintain than to fight your way up. We only have one truck in the top 10 that started outside the top 20, and that's Doug Milner, currently running in 9th position. Everyone else started inside the top 20. The vast majority, started in the top 10 or close to the top 10. So yes, I mean, he probably is like, man, I could have done this if I started in dead last. But it's a lot easier to maintain track position than to gain track position here at Talladega, especially with how dominant that bottom lane has seemed to be. Of course, as I say that, I believe one Matt Cherry, Peter, who was involved in the big one, who kind of was, I wouldn't say the cause because he got hit, but his truck was the vehicle that was out of control causing the big one. And all of a sudden, he is charging on the outside lane, trying to retake or at least challenge for that race.
Yeah, I mean, it's pretty crazy, right? I mean, he was up there at the front of the field. That 54 was turned sideways and really got away with not a whole lot of damage on the Stay Tuned Sports Toyota Tundra. Believe it or not, a lot of the other trucks that were behind him got more damage. You see some of the lapped cars here, the 07 and the 04 heavily damaged from that accident that we are just mentioning. Now I think the 34 is coming back onto the racetrack. There he is on the right-hand side of your screen. Your race leader is able to get past the lap traffic nice and easily here at Talladega. They gave them plenty of room, and now we're 3x3. Look at Chris Darling in the Taz Racing Customs number 11 there in the middle of the pack. He is multiple laps down as they run right now. By my math, the number 11 of Chris Darling is 7 laps down, presumably because of suspension damage that he might have had to get fixed from that contact with Ben Mashburn. If you're a Ben Mashburn fan, the number 4 of Mashburn sits on pit road. Ryan Bolstridge also on pit road. Kyle Lewis in the number 18. We saw him retire after getting a pit road, actually missing his pit stall. I think he got a pit road speeding penalty earlier in the night as well. Could be wrong on that. However, Garrett Austin is still chugging along in the number 34 machine, but he's many laps down. Same deal with Stan Hausman. So believe it or not, right now, looks like Jason Shue might have just taken his truck to the garage. But right now, we only have about 5, maybe 6 trucks in the garage. There is a lot of trucks still out there running with a lot of damage, and they're well off the pace. But only 6 trucks, I believe, are in the garage at this stage of the race.
Yeah, Peter. It'll be interesting to see, as far as pit stops are concerned, where all that happens and how many trucks can make it with one more stop. I think some will, and I think some definitely will not be able to. It's going to be really close for a lot of these drivers. I think they need to make it to, again, about lap 21. Close to lap 20 is kind of this pit window that they're going to be looking towards, and it's going to be a stretch for some of these guys. I think the guys that are kind of further back in the field are going to be in a better position to potentially make it to that pit window, but back towards the front, Matt Cherry, that outside line. That's kind of what we've seen all night here, as now we're looking at Josh Sobel running in 9th position. That outside lane has been able to get up there and kind of challenge, but it certainly hasn't been able to establish itself up there, as we'll see what Matt Cherry can do. He just nosed ahead of Philip Scott down the backstretch, but once we get into turn 3, I think that bottom lane going to edge ahead once more, but through the tri-oval, that high lane is going to have the advantage.
And the field going by the number 34, who might be the most damaged of all the trucks I've seen here tonight. They feel running by him like he was absolutely standing still. That is the number 34 of Garrett Austin, only at 128 miles an hour here at Talladega Superspeedway. I think he could be beaten by quite a few cars, just road cars at that type of speed. Unbelievable. We'll see whether or not he comes off the racetrack. There's Johnny Williams on the bottom right-hand corner of your screen in the number 69. He is, if there was grass down there, he would be a lawnmower at that stage, but there is no grass here at Talladega on the backstretch. Philip Scott in the 54 of Cherry, continuing to go double file, and I'm just watching this, Drew. We're at 23 laps to go. I expect to see maybe some trucks come down pit road next lap. But if they can make it one more lap, they can make it to 21 laps to go, I think they will be able to make it the rest of the way on field. We will see, but this could be a critical moment of the race, assuming we go caution-free to the end. And it will be the money stop for some drivers. And we call it the money stop because you got to be absolutely perfect getting to your pit box, put yourself in contention to win here at Talladega.
Yeah, Peter, and no mistakes can be had. And this is where being out front in one of those lines is not beneficial. Nobody coming down this time, so I'm not saying nobody. the 51 and a truck that blinked out of sight. That's the number 64, Vincent Valvano, who I anticipate had a speeding penalty right there, given that late lockup from that number 64 machine. We shall see. Yep. No tires being put on the number 64, so I'm anticipating that is a 40-second stop and hold. Yep, sure looks like it, doesn't it, Peter?
Yeah, he ain't moving.
Yeah, not good for the number 64. But again, money stop, high pressure leads to guys making kind of mistakes that I don't think they would normally make. But I think everybody else, close to everybody else, is going to be coming this time by and that's a lot of trucks, and this is when a lot of stuff can happen, as we've seen before. Is they go 3-4 wide onto pit road. But somehow, Peter, they make it work. The number 99 of Philip Scott, by far the best pit entry, but not too far behind John Cannizzaro. Matt Cherry, the number 23 machine of Travis White as well, all coming into their pit boxes.
Yeah, did a really great job. Most of the field there. It looks like Philip Scott's going to take on tires in his number 99 machine. Not a lot of other drivers going to be taking on tires. A couple of lap trucks there just now leaving their pit box. But most of these drivers doing a great job. The number 9 at the back of this group, he's going to have to hightail it if he wants to keep up. But we do have a couple of drivers who elected to stay out here. They come down pit road. That is Dorchik, Purdue, and Bledsoe. The Bledsoes make the Randys, make contact. And Randy Bledsoe's going backwards on the racetrack. He's going to take a tow back to pit road. Caution flag does not come out. But that is unfortunate for the 81, who's already had to overcome some adversity here tonight. Can he overcome this round of adversity as the 03 is now in his pit box?
It's something's going to have to happen, Peter, for that to be overcome. That's a big issue that happened coming onto pit road. There is now we see that replay, and that's just old Rando getting a little sideways on entry, potentially a little too much rear brake, which can be a real big problem, especially at these super speedways where you have tiny brakes. A little too much rear brake can be very difficult to control, as we are now riding on board with the 81. I think you'll see right here, just kind of gets that rear end a little sideways, and then somehow it doesn't cause a caution despite being solidly on the racing surface. So I'm certainly happy to see that. I think everyone who made a clean pit stop is happy to see that as well, as though, Peter, that's a really big lead pack, as we still have guys coming on in pit road, but that's a massive lead pack. This did not break up the leaders as much as I would anticipate as far as green flag stops concerned.
Yeah, just doing some moderation, folks. We got spam again here in the channel, but do apologize for that. Here in the BeerStreetJournal.com 250 at the Talladega Super Speedway. This is what the front pack looks like after all of that pit stop action. Philip Scott, still your race leader. Jason Grassi is up into second. Josh Sobel there, third truck on the inside line. Tristan Maher up there. John Cannizzaro. But look at the number 6 at Doug Milliner. Haven't really mentioned the number 6 of Milliner a whole lot here today. Remember, we will have a race. The first unsponsored race that we have will be the Doug Milliner's Underwear Emporium event. Not sure when that is. We got the next couple of races booked. I think next week here on 3 Wide TV is going to be the Total Nonstop Racing Rock and Roll event, which should be a lot of fun. We'll get to see some custom paint schemes of rock and roll bands on some of these trucks. I'm thoroughly looking forward to that one, and I believe that one is next week, so make sure you folks turn into that one on November 12th, 2021, or catch the replay of it, but should be a good event right here on 3 Wide TV. Big shout out to Total Nonstop Racing. And I think the week after that might be the Doug Milner's Underwear Emporium event. But oh man, almost contact between Jordan Scheffler and the number 11 of Chris Darling there.
Yeah, certainly close to potentially the second big one. There, Peter, is now we have the top 12 trucks on the lead lap within this main pack. A couple of guys not on the lead lap in here as well, trying to be the truck to get that Brookstone Animal Hospital Lucky Dog Award, I believe, is the 30. Just kind of looking at the time of the scoring. I think the 88 is up there. Yes, the 88 of Nick Kessler is up there, as is the number 33 of Jeffrey Johnson Jr. and the 64 of Vincent Valvano, kind of that white truck right about there towards the tail end of your screen. So several lab trucks, which, Peter, can be a huge influence as far as the outcome of the race is concerned. Quite frankly, Peter, if you're on that inside lane and you just push the heck out of a lab truck in front of you that is technically, oh, that's a wreck right there. Chris Darling, Peter, was involved in an incident and no caution, but that number 11 is seriously damaged.
Well, time to dial up the 3 Wide TV replay. I saw that out of the corner of my eye and was trying to figure out what was going on. And coming up on the lap track, that's the number 34 machine, who I said was so far off the pace. 130 or so miles an hour was the best the number 34 could do. And Chris Darling goes straight into the back of the number 34 machine. And that is night done for Chris Darling. Let's see if we can go back just a little bit here. Garrett, you can see it wasn't enough, or Drew, excuse me. Oh, boy. I stream with too many people. Yeah, wow. I stream with too many people. We need to make it like, we need just, if you could do it every night. But yeah, just on board with Darling there, straight into the back of the number 34 machine.
I'm Garrett and he's Drew now, apparently, Peter. That's what I'm getting from this exchange. Yeah, I mean, I'm sure Chris Darling doesn't feel this way, but at least it wasn't a truck competing for the race win. I don't think he would be pleased with me saying that, but I mean, he was a guy trying to compete for being the first truck several laps down at that point. So if that's going to happen to one of these guys, I would prefer it not be a guy competing for the race lead, as now Tristan Maher is. Oh, now we got a big wreck. Oh, the 33 of Jeffrey Johnson Jr. cartwheels through the air. 3 hard into the inside wall. And the number 6 of Doug Milner involved as well. Some huge impact. Somehow the 33 is still going.
Still going, but that should presumably bring out the caution flag, surely, right? Yeah, let's see what happened here to this mini pack right here. And let's slow it down. Contact between, looks like, the 03 and the 6. Milner shoots down into the 33 machine, and then watch this, folks, getting launched up into the stratosphere, goes up and over and lands on all 4 tires. The Russian judges are not impressed, but everyone else is going to give it a 10 out of 10 for Jeffrey Johnson Jr. Unfortunately, the engines are smoking. The 03 is smoking. The 6 is smoking. That is 3 more trucks done here tonight at Talladega. And we will be under caution for only the 3rd time here tonight, Drew. That changes everything.
Yeah, I mean, I think 2 out of those 3 have been fairly spectacular. I don't think they've really left the viewers wanting for something a little more dramatic. They have been plenty of dramatic, as now we'll ride on board. What kind of happens here? I think that looks like netcode to me there, Peter. A bit of netcode between Milner and, good Lord, the 33 gets launched. I tell you what, I love the new damage model that iRacing's implemented, but good Lord, do I miss the spectacular cartwheeling the Indy cars would do prior to the new damage model, a la right about here. Yep. That's what the old Indy cars did, and now they kind of have boring wrecks, and it kind of makes me a little sad to see those, I don't know, spinning like a top wrecks go away, but Jeffrey Johnson Jr. did a really good job recreating what used to be in the old Dallara Indy cars.
So we'll get one more look at this one, Drew, and I think you called it right. Let's go back maybe a little bit back. Let's do the three. We need like a scratching sound, and yeah, I think that was net code between those two. It seemed like there was a little bit of space between them, and unfortunately leads to our third accident of the night, and a couple of those trucks getting tossed into the inside wall, and their nights will be done here at Talladega Super Speedway. But the lights atop the iRacing pace truck are still twinkling. RC Planes in the chat saying, I come in and first thing I see is a truck getting yeeted into space. That was the number 33 of Jeffrey Johnson Jr. We gave the gyro cam a good workout like we always do when cars go up and over. And RC Planes also very excited to see Philip Scott in the lead. And RC, well, if you're just now joining us, you've missed a lot of Philip Scott leading here tonight. He's been the dominant force and was the CraigSetupShop.co.uk poll award winner at the top of the show here in tonight's BeerStreetJournal.com 250/260 at Talladega. And who knows, we might have some Beer Street Journal last calls here before it's all said and done. We don't have green-white checkers here. We call them the Beer Street Journal last call. We can even have the last call, the double last call, because that can happen here in the Stay Tuned Sports Podcast truck series. But Philip Scott, Tristan Maher, and Jason Gracias currently our top three. But Drew, with this late caution coming out, we'll presumably be going back green with about 10 laps to go. How do you think that's going to change the complexion of this race?
Great question. It's hard to know without being out there how much these guys have kind of been holding back as far as forcing three wides and stuff are concerned. They might have been kind of maximizing the runs that they were getting earlier. I kind of doubt that, given what these trucks tend to be able to do. You tend to see about as big a runs as you can imagine in these trucks of any of the stock cars or any. I think a Mazda might be a little crazier here at Talladega, but just about as crazy as it can get are what these trucks can produce here at Talladega. So I think guys are just they're gonna force a three wide when they might have not done that earlier. Same with the four wide situation. I just think that there's going to be a lot less hesitancy as far as pushing a move that you might have not done even 5 laps ago. Now with 10 to go here when we restart, there's just not a lot of time. You don't have the ability to try to make that run work later on. You got to do it now.
Yeah, that is for sure. I'm not 100% sure who our lucky dog is under this caution flag, but if I was to gander, I at the very least, I know Nick Kessler at one point here tonight has picked up a Lucky Dog Award, courtesy of our friends over Brookstone Animal Hospital. Make sure you check them out, brookstonevet.com. If you're in the greater Atlanta, Georgia area, they can take care of your pets. And they're also the sponsor of the Lucky Dog Award here in that Taz Racing Customs number 88 machine. Of course, Taz Racing Customs also a series sponsor here in the National Sim Racing Association. I found out today that one of the longtime friends of 3 Wide TV, Tim Connolly, actually ordered a Taz Racing Custom diecast just today, and really wanted to give a big shout out to Tim and Taz Racing Customs. He's really excited to get his custom diecast of his iRacing machine. Pace truck heads down pit road. Drew, I think we're about to answer the question of what is this caution going to do to the complexion of this race here in a hurry, because we only have 10 laps to go here at Talladega. Scott bring him down nice and slow, ready for that green flag to come out.
Here comes Philip Scott. A solid restart. A really good restart by Tristan Maher there on the outside lane. About as good of a job as you could possibly do here in iRacing, given the kind of wide variety the leader is given as far as when they can restart the race. But can that high lane get organized? Because Peter, 10 laps to go. Not a lot of laps, but certainly a lot of distance here as we have 26.6 miles left. A lot of pavement to be covered, but a really good job by Philip Scott in this restart.
Yeah, 10 laps to go. Scott on the inside, then Jason Gracias in the MaxGrafix.co machine trying to push Philip Scott. Scott looking almost to the high line, but he ducks back in front of the number 1 machine. But I think the 99 just drifting up the racetrack a little bit there, Drew, gave the number 17 of Maher a little bit of draft. Now he's going to be side by side at the line, and that was almost a dead heat coming to just 9 laps to go. John Cannizzaro is in the number 12 truck, second on the high line. Then Jordan Scheffler, the number 13, back behind him. Then Josh Sobel, he's the third truck in line on the inside groove. Now look at that third line starting to get teamed up. That is the two of Justin White up there. Then the number 9 machine back behind him. That is driven by Joshua Corner. Haven't mentioned his name a whole lot here tonight. He was very lucky in one of the earlier incidents to not get a whole lot of damage. But that third line starting to possibly break up just a little bit as there's only 2 trucks up there. But that 17 of Maher with a big push from Cannizzaro, now clear of the number 99. Is he going to stay on that middle groove, or is he going to drop down in front of the number 99? No, he stays in that middle groove.
Yeah, interesting to see what these guys are going to do when they're going to force situations, when they're going to lose their patience. I mean, Peter, we talk about 10 laps to go like it's last night with 10 to go at Martinsville at a half mile at a 2.66 track. 10 to go, still quite a bit of time. You don't want to risk getting caught out by a caution, but boom, here we go. High lane working by that number 2 machine of Justin White trying to get up there. And, when you're one of those guys kind of further back, sometimes you got to make these moves, but this is not great for that middle groove. Is now you see the number 17 of Tristan Maher start to fall back a little bit as that high lane can kind of pull some of that momentum, some of that energy out of that middle groove as they make their way forward. Although number 17 of Tristan Maher makes a liar out of me and is able to clear that number 99 machine, is now that bottom lane really starting to suffer here with just about, 7 laps to go here.
And Joshua Corner gets turned. There's a big wreck in the back. The 25 machine of Purdue is involved as well. But that, I believe, will presumably bring out the caution. They're still wrecking. Let's see if we can bring up. We just mentioned Joshua Corder and how lucky he was earlier tonight. Well, he's not going to be too lucky in this one here, folks. Let's see if we can see what happened here from the blimp cam and contact between the 9 and the number 13. Matt Cherry in the 54 doing a nose grind on the safer barrier. And was that Jordan Scheffler who ended up going flipping? I think it was. Let's see if we can see what happened to Jordan Scheffler here, because that did not look good here, Drew. Let's see if we can go on board here with the number 13 machine. Caution flag is out here. We'll have a restart with under 5 laps to go. Going off into the corner, there's the contact with the number 9 machine. And the 13 gets turned up into the wall, and he gets flung up into the sky. You see the sky, then the ground, and then the sky and the ground, and the sky and the ground, and it repeats over and over again until he finally lands on all 4 tires. But what a wild ride for the number 13 machine that was. And of course, that will give us another opportunity here, Drew, to do what we love to do here on 3 Wide TV, and that's get the gyro cams a workout here. As folks, hopefully you don't get seasick with this one.
Yeah, I hope Jordan Scheffler's not in VR as all of a sudden that hook, and then all of a sudden the safer barrier decides your forward momentum is now going to be vertical momentum, and you can't go down, so you're going to go straight up, and that's exactly what happens to the number 13 machine. Is iRacing physics, folks. When you don't have the new damage model and stuff gets a little wonky, that's what can happen. As unfortunately, I think that's about it for the 13 machine of Jordan Scheffler. I thought he was going to get through that, though, Peter. Had a little bit of contact with the 9. Oh, almost cleared it. Not quite, though, as then he gets hooked at the last second. Now, riding on board, I believe, I honestly can't quite tell who we're on board with, but he clears it, and boom, there you go. Oh, there goes the 13. It's just like a hand from above just flicked that 13 up into the sky, and there you go, Peter. How quickly your day can change And now on board with Matt Cherry. Walk us through what you see.
Yeah, just see that contact up there and just absolutely nowhere for him to go. It's holy smokes. Almost went into a flipping number 13 machine, but really nowhere for him to go. Gets sandwiched up into the wall, and that's a tough break for the Stay Tuned Sports podcast with Jimbo number 54 machine. We'll see if we can get maybe a couple of more reviews. Here we go, on board with the number 25 machine. Randy Perdue will get his look right here. The 13 just drifts up just a little bit, captures the number 9, and it was number 25 that sandwiched the number 54 up into the wall. Just really nowhere to go, unfortunately, for those two drivers. And then he hits the wall there, comes down the racetrack, and I think he just got a piece from the 971 of Nate Maurer there at the end. Tough break for a lot of these drivers who are having such a good night. And Drew, it's always painful when it happens so late in the event, because you've spent now going on 2 hours in this race here tonight, a long one here at Talladega on 3 Wide TV here tonight as we close in on the 2-hour mark in at least the broadcast. We went live at around 8:57 Eastern time. It is now 10:57 Eastern time, so we're closing in on that 2-hour mark. Adams Racing, Mitchell Adams in the chat saying, who is everyone's pick at the end here? Mike Tellier in the chat saying, iRacing's new damage fix model, iRacing takes forever to repair nothing now. And Darling says he had 8 minutes of repairs for practically no damage on his number 11 at one point here tonight. We saw that, Chris. We saw you kind of get thrown up into the air in that wreck around the halfway mark, but we didn't expect you to have 8 minutes of repair with it. So Mitchell Snare in the chat saying, I haven't watched this in forever. Mitchell, thanks for dropping by us here on 3 Wide TV here tonight. We're going to have a little bit of a shootout at Talladega Superspeedway coming up for you. Mitchell Snare saying he's got John Cannizzaro. I think Mitchell Adams has John Cannizzaro, so the Mitchells are in agreement here tonight. Jordan Shepler saying 13 cleared out of the care center. Jordan, you might need some type of motion or seasickness pill after that one as well, getting tossed up around in real life. So, I don't know. We'll see here, Drew. It's going to be 3 laps, and of course, we do have a couple attempts at the Beer Street Journal last calls as well. Might we see 2 attempts at a Beer Street Journal last call here in tonight's BeerStreetJournal.com 250 here at the Talladega Superspeedway. If you haven't checked them out here tonight, well, all you have to do is go down into the description of the video, click on the link, open it up in a new tab, put it over onto the right-hand side of the screen, and browse the latest news and the latest topics in craft breweries across the United States of America. Bob Giaquinto in the chat. Bob, how's it going this evening? Thanks for jumping on in and for the finale of the race here tonight. Drew, 3 laps at Talladega. You're saying a little while ago 10 laps is a big number at Talladega, but 3, I would argue 3 is a small number regardless of what track you're at.
Yeah, I mean, just in sheer number of times you're going to cross the start-finish line until the race is over. Yeah, I mean, it's still mileage, not insubstantial. I mean, Talladega is as big as a lot of road courses, especially in North America. So 3 laps to go on a road course. I mean, there's still plenty of opportunity for mistakes, and I think that sentiment is echoed here at Talladega. Still plenty of opportunities for guys to make mistakes. We still have about 11 trucks, I believe, that are going to be competing for this race win. I think Matt Cherry and Randy Perdue are going to be a little further back. Potentially, I think they might be catching up right here, but nonetheless, Justin White leading them to the green flag. Philip Scott, that blue truck, the second truck on the outside, has been kind of the most dominant truck here tonight at Talladega, but 3 laps to go. The number 2, what kind of restart does he get? We've seen the shifts here tonight at Talladega. Looks like a solid restart from Justin White. What run can that outside lane get? Here comes Jason Gracias in the number 1 machine on that very top groove, not able to make it work with the number 51 of Adam Leidy, I believe is how I pronounce it. I know you have a slightly different pronunciation, Peter. I am sure we will be corrected as far as how that number 51 prefers his name to be pronounced. But that number 17 machine, Tristan Maher on that outside, Philip Scott, the strongest truck all night in that number 99 to his rear tailgate on that outside lane with the number 2 of Justin White coming to 2 to go.
2 laps to go this time, and this is the battle for the race lead. A little bit of a gap back to the number 9 machine. That is the cornerback there. He's still hanging on with a truck that somehow survived that last accident. But the 2 of Justin White here, remember, Drew, used that third line to get to the race lead. What a move that could be here tonight in the BeerStreetJournal.com 250, 260, whatever you want to call it. But he has the number 88 of Nick Kessler behind him. Remember, Nick Kessler was a lap down earlier in this race. He had to use the Brookstone Animal Hospital Lucky Dog to get back on the lead lap. And then same thing with the 51 as we're 4 wide back there. They're racing for everything they can get. Philip Scott now pushed all the way back to the back of this group. White is coming around to the white flag here at Dega. Kessler behind him in the 88, and John Cannizzaro now in the number 12. He's going to be up to 3rd as the white flag waves. No Beer Street Journal last calls here tonight.
Yeah, amazing how this restart really all of a sudden kind of exposed that 99 when he got into lap traffic, not doing what he needs to do to get up towards the front. But anything can happen here. Is now the number 1 of Jason Gracias makes a move on the outside on the backstretch. What will happen here? This is really crucial, folks, in setting up exactly how this race will go down. On the front stretch, Nick Kessler in the number 88 machine stuck to the rear bumper of that number 2. Oh, a little bit of jockeying, a little bit of door slamming going on between Gracias and White in that number 23 machine. Oh, they're 4 wide. Coming into the tri-oval, the number 2, the number 88 of Nick Kessler. Oh, there's contact. I think Sobel is going to edge him. Who will it be? The number 2. I think the number 2 gets him at the start finish line. Justin White grabs the race victory by 0.009 seconds over Josh Sobel.
Justin White goes to victory lane 3 wide across the start-finish line here tonight. What an unbelievable finish. And Adam Leidy, we're going to figure out how to pronounce his name because he's going to finish on the podium here tonight. Let's see this final run to the finish one more time here, folks, because this is one we're going to have to slow down. We're 4 wide back there. The 2 gets into the 88 of Kessler, and I don't think Kessler probably would have appreciated that a whole lot. Then here comes Maher. Maher gets into the back of the 2, gives him a shot. In fact, basically pinballed the number 2 up to the front. Kessler gets wrecked. Cannizzaro goes around the 1 of Gracias. Maher going around. But look at this battle right here, Drew. Right there. Look at that gap here at the start-finish line. That is it. The 2 of White. Victory lane. Sobel 2nd. The 51 in 3rd. That is a photo finish if I've ever seen one here at Talladega Super Speedway. Crazy stuff here in the Stay Tuned Sports Podcast Truck Series.
Yeah, agreed. I think that this obviously really solidifies Justin White's push to the playoffs, but it'll be interesting to see. If I were that 88 of Nick Kessler, I would not be happy with that. I think the 2 kind of more or less what just kind of amounts to just driving through him, kind of dumping him in the tri-oval. And sometimes that's what you got to do for a race win, right? I mean, if it's that or finishing second, you do what you got to do to win. But it'll be interesting to see if there are any hard feelings in the future between the number 88 and the number 2, and if maybe they race each other a little differently in the future. But what a finish. I got to say, I kind of, based on what we saw all night, did not expect to have a 3 wide photo finish, less than a 10th of a second between our top 3, less than a half of a 10th of a second between our top 3, with Justin White coming out by, fractions of a second.
So I can confirm that the number 88 machine did play nice and just got around the number 2 machine of Justin White. Here is the number 2 machine coming to the start-finish line and going to do some burnouts for the fans here on 3 Wide TV to celebrate his win. But what a crazy finish. We haven't seen many crazier than that here on the channel. That is for sure. Stay Tuned Sports saying that was a strong finish for Josh Sobel. Staying composed at the end. Definitely a great run for Josh Sobel there in the last, the last half of a lap. Getting through that accident and putting that truck in an opportunity to potentially win the race here tonight. Jordan Schepler in the chat saying that was a little sus. Of course, if you don't know the term sus, it's short for suspicious. Jeff Johnson Jr. in the chat saying, wow. Yeah, you said it right, Jeffrey. That was one heck of a finish here on 3 Wide TV. And we'll get to talk to several of these drivers here in just a moment. Although we are going to... I'm just looking up and down the scoring pylon right now, and I don't know if Justin White is in the admin room because that's usually where he is, or whether or not he has been called to the National Sim Racing Association Stay Tuned Sports Truck Series hauler. Well, we'll kind of wait to see how that all goes down. He's still out there on the racetrack driving around backwards here in the number 2 machine, doing a little bit of a Polish victory lap, and I wasn't live. He's still burning it down on the backstretch, so presumably we'll think that the race will hold, at least for now. But let's see if we can get... let's see if we can start with our... Oh, well, there we go. Josh Sobel just moved himself down to the waiting room. So let's just see if we can start with tonight's third place finish, Drew. Let's see if we can figure out how to pronounce his name. Driver of the number 51 machine, Adam. Peter Short, 3Y TV booth. You got a copy?
Yeah, I got you.
All right. Well, the first thing that we have to get off of our plate is how to pronounce your last name, because I had a Scottish professor, and granted he's Scottish, and he had your same last name, but he had a hard CH. But then I've also, Drew Eisman does it
Lichty.
without a hard. So you say Lichty. Okay, so that's what I knew. But yeah, I've heard it both ways. But Adam, what a crazy race for you. You were a lap down at one point here tonight. You got the lucky dog. You got yourself back on the lead lap, and you put yourself into position there to possibly come home with a win with all the late race antics. 4 wide there in the last couple of laps. Kind of talk us through it. I'm sure your blood pressure's through the roof right now.
Yeah, that's a wicked race. At one point, I was 2 laps down, and I took the wave around, got the lucky dog, and man, what a race, huh? I'm still just shaking everywhere. It's what a race.
And of course, it's races like this that really is why we're in sim racing, right? It's races like this that really are crazy. I don't think I realized you were 2 laps down. I realized you were at least 1 lap down. Unbelievable comeback for you here tonight at Talladega. You know, super speedway, anything can happen, and I think you proved that anything can actually happen at Talladega with that third place finish.
Yeah, just patience. You got to have a lot of patience, and just, you know, with 8 or 9 laps to go, it's go time. So you just gotta gas it up and go.
And tell us about those last couple of laps, because it seemed like the field, for the most part here tonight, yes, there were a couple of incidents here and there, but those last couple of laps, 3 and 4 wide, drivers jostling for position, beating and banging, it really seemed like those last 3 laps, it was cranked up an extra notch. It was cranked to 11, if you will.
Yeah, it sure was. Cranked to 12, maybe even. I mean, they're real aggressive, you know, coming to, you know, especially on the white flag lap, I think, and it may have been coming to the white, but it was 4 wide at one time. And I had so much damage that if I even got out from behind the truck that I was behind, I was toast. I had so much side damage. I got into pit road and I was below a guy, and when he come to hit his pit lane, he hit me, and both of us like to spun out. But I had damage the whole race, so it's just I had to be in the draft.
Yeah, it was a crazy race on many different parts, but from Talladega Super Speedway next week, the Stay Tuned Sports Podcast Truck Series rolls into Indianapolis to the Lucas Oil Raceway for the Total Nonstop Racing Rock and Roll Spectacular 200. Hopefully we'll get to see you at Lucas Oil Raceway. Will we be able to see you there?
Yeah, for sure. I'll be there. I'm going to run the rest of the series on out. I'm not trying to mess points up on nobody or nothing. Just here having a good time.
All right. Well, great to have you here in the National Sim Racing Association Stay Tuned Sports Truck Series. It is a great group of people with some really, really hard racing. You are privy to that here tonight. But before we let you go, anyone you want to give a shout out to?
You guys up there in the booth do an excellent job. I watched last week's race. That is a good one. And I don't have no sponsors or nothing like that. I'm just running this truck off trading paint. So here I am. No team, no sponsor.
Well, you know what? If someone wants to come out here and sponsor the number 51 machine, he's shown that he can get up to the front in and amongst the adversity. Adam, thanks for joining us here tonight, and we'll see you out there on the racetrack next week.
Yeah, thanks, guys.
All right, so that's going to do it with our third place finisher here tonight. And I believe that Drew Eisenman has caught up with runner-up, Mr. Josh Sobel.
Josh Sobel, Drew Eisenman up here in the 3-wide TV booth. You got a copy?
Oh, yeah.
Well, Mr. Sobel, a couple hundred feet to the start-finish line. It was up in the air if you or the number 2 machine were going to win the race. Give us a rundown of kind of the last few laps, the last few moments of that race from your perspective.
Really, I just have a horrible track run at super speedways, so I really was just going to hope for the best. I stayed clean pretty much the whole entire race, and the team, TNR, did a hell of a job, the boys up front, with pit strategy and everything else. So I knew something was going to happen, just didn't know when, and I just did the best I could, and it was a drag race. I saw Justin go up high to block the 88 or something. I was like, okay, he's going to leave the bottom open. So I just kind of gassed it and hoped and hoped and hoped. And then I think Adam was right behind me, and I didn't want to get into him. So I'm just happy that I was able to finish clean, honestly, more than anything. And tonight was a hell of a race.
Yeah, and coming into tonight, I think I was kind of surprised where you were in points. 15th. I know you certainly have had a lot better pace than that. How much does finishing second tonight, while not locking you in, change your perspective going into next week, our final race before the chase?
Yeah, I'm trying everything I can. I don't know. It's weird. The trucks are something that I do quite a bit in, and it seems like I'm doing better in the Xfinity series right now. So I'm kind of focusing on that and just kind of having fun with the truck series just to see what happens. But yeah, we'll have to see what happens. It's just a bunch of bad luck, really. I tried to not get so frustrated, but it's really hard not to because I put so much time into trying to practice, and sometimes I take it a little too serious. And I think the guys up in Discord channels hear that. And I'm just glad that I was able to get a podium. Is something that I've been looking forward to for I couldn't even tell you how long now, honestly.
So my apologies. Next week is not the last race. There are 2 races left at Lucas Oil and Las Vegas. But speaking of Lucas Oil, we ran there in the Beer Street Journal series. Mm-hmm. I think you had some decent pace there as in the Xfinity cars. How do you think your approach? How similar do you think that's going to be in the trucks? And then just what are your thoughts and expectations going into that?
I think personally, I just need to focus on minimizing mistakes because I do make some weird mistakes at weird times. And I don't even know why. I feel like I'm driving the same way and then something just kind of random happens. So I've been doing as much as I can to practice. Like, I've been putting in so much practice at these tracks just in general. I mean, the majority of them through the Xfinity series, most of those I haven't even raced ever, and I'm hitting top 5. So I'm just going to continue doing that and focus a little bit more on being a bit more aggressive, because I'm like the type of guy that doesn't want to get into people. Like, I'm just trying to race as clean as I can, but sometimes it kind of bites you in the butt, and that's happened to me a fair share. So I'm just going to keep doing what I'm doing and make some minor tweaks here and there. But personally, I don't think I'm doing terrible. Points obviously say otherwise, but I'm just going to do what I can and just try to get better each week. So.
No, I mean, I would absolutely agree with those sentiments. Yeah, I think that you have to be nice in NSRA, but also let people know that I'm willing to not be nice, almost, right? I think that there's a little balance that you have to ride, a kind of fine line. And if not, I think that the guys think that they can, maybe take a little bit of advantage of that. But I think tonight is absolutely a shift towards, I think, what your kind of true pace is here in the Stay Tuned Sports Podcast Truck Series. Congratulations on your second place finish. And I guess to kind of round out the interview, I guess, what do you think, other than the aggression levels, what are things that you think you can focus on and improve on kind of going on into the later aspects of this season?
A lot of it's, I've been doing really well trying to improve on long runs, and I think I've been doing pretty well on that. And again, a team mentality is what's really helping me. I kind of struggled with being on teams to try and learn, and that's what I try and do, because I have the race pace. I just need a little push, and I think I found that with TNR, honestly. Like Garrett, Jason, John, Phillip, Tristan, all those guys up there, man. Literally, I'm not going to be in this position without help from those guys. And the strategy is what I suck at the most. And being able to have somebody that has a good strategy down, and we can play as a team. As you saw here tonight, we pretty much dominated in green flag pit stops and everything else. I think that's really going to help out a ton later in the season. But I got some minor things, nothing too crazy. I just got to kind of polish up some stuff. I get into my own head a little bit too much as well too. So I think as long as I can mentally kind of stay composed, I think I'll be just fine.
Yeah, no, I would kind of echo those sentiments, and we're looking forward to seeing what you can do. Before we let you go, let's hear those shout outs.
Yeah, this one definitely Brantley at Harpoon Design. He deserves this, man. I've been trying so hard. He's the only guy I've had that's been painting my cars, and I love everything he's done. And we have such a great chemistry together with everything coming together. I cannot wait to unveil the music car that we have. It is probably the best paint scheme I've ever had, honestly. So I'm really excited for that to happen a couple weeks out. But yeah, huge shout out to Harpoon Designs. Go check him out, harpoondesigns.com for your paints. He's also got a Facebook page as well too, Harpoon Design. And then obviously the guys at TNR, Garrett Gleason, Jason Gracias, John Canizaro, Philip Scott, Tristan Maher, all those guys up there. I haven't raced too much with Tristan, but I like the guy. And everyone up there, man, they're killing it. So, that's pretty much it. My dad, he's always, always here. My mom watches as well too. And, I'm just glad he's, hyping up the chat and talking to everybody else. And you up in the booth, as always. I love y'all's presentation, the way y'all handle everything. And man, just being able to go back and watch the broadcast is just like I'm reliving everything all over again. Stay Tuned Sports. I have to thank him because he pretty much brought me into this a little bit. I kind of brought him into NSRA a bit too as well. So I love Jumbo. Maybe we can do something in the future with Harpoon and himself and kind of get back up there. But yeah, there's a lot. But I appreciate all of y'all, honestly.
Well, we certainly appreciate that here at 3Y TV. We always appreciate Mr. Sobel being in the chat. And thanks for talking with us tonight. And congratulations on your second place finish.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
All right, folks, that's going to do it with tonight's runner-up, Josh Sobel, with that late race pass. Now we're going to go down to Victory Lane, where the number 2 machine has rolled into Victory Lane. And Justin, some late race moves from you. First, on the high line to get yourself up to the race lead for that 3-lap shootout, and then some late race contact there with you and Nick Kessler. but you are the first truck across the start-finish line there. It didn't look that great for you at times here tonight, but victory lane after all that. Talk to us about you tonight.
Yeah, I mean, it's super speedway racing. It's not. I mean, I feel kind of bad. I don't know why I do, but I mean, it's not like I did it. Tried to take a right turn and door the 88. I just tried to pull up as easily as I could to a door to try to pull as much air draft off of them. And then I think we just kind of had a little bit of a net code between us. It looks like maybe. It definitely was not the intent to kind of like wreck him all the way out of the race. I was just hoping to. I mean, if we scrub doors, but not completely like wipe them out. That was definitely not the intent.
Well, that can be racing here at Talladega late in the race, and definitely was an action-packed race from your perspective. Kind of talk us through your strategy here tonight and what led to you trying that third groove to get up to the front late.
Yeah, I figured when I qualified fourth, I figured if I could stay up front most of the race, I wouldn't be involved in the crap that happens in the back. But I ended up falling to the back pretty quick because I got pretty uncomfortable. So I decided to kind of hang on to the tail end of the draft as long as I possibly could, keep the truck as clean as possible. And then once we got down to about, like I said, about 15 to go or so, I seen that third lane open up, and that number 9 of Josh, I knew he could push me in practice up there. So, cause we had already done it once or twice with him. And sure enough, he stuck with me, and I was able to get a big enough run before that caution came out to put me in the lead.
And of course, that gave you the best position to win the race here tonight at Talladega. But next week, we go from the 2.66 mile super speedway to short track action at Lucas Oil Raceway Park for the total nonstop racing rock and roll spectacular 200. What are your thoughts about Lucas Oil?
Lucas Oil's a really flat track. Corners, the speed, especially with these trucks, is going to be up high. So that's where we're going to be. I think there's going to be a few cautions, not overabundance, but I think guys are going to have to figure out their braking points and just try to keep the tires underneath them, try not to burn that right front off of it. So I'm hoping to have a good finish. I'm starting to like short tracks more and more as I race here. General and iRacing, I used to absolutely hate them, but now I'm actually starting to like them more than anything else I run. So that doesn't matter if it's in a super, street stock, super late model, truck, cup. It doesn't matter. I like short tracking.
It's definitely going to be an interesting one. That is for sure very different from what we saw here tonight at Talladega Super Speedway. Before we let you go, Justin, anyone you want to give a shout out to?
He may not want to hear it, but I want to thank the 88 for sticking with me there on the bottom and keeping us pushed to the front. It was definitely not my intention to wreck him, so I appreciate him. I'm hoping we can kind of move past it and move on. But then, Stay Tuned Sports and Jimbo, appreciate him coming on board and sponsoring us. Craig's Setup Shop, you, Peter, you and Drew, both doing your thing in the broadcast here. You guys put on a great show every week. Hopefully we have enough content for you guys to talk about and keep everybody interested and engaged. And of course, I want to give a shout out to Breer Sheet Journal for Thursdays. I know that's not part of this league here, this series here technically, but they've come on board here at NSRA and helped us quite a bit on getting drivers involved and whatnot. So that's basically it. Oh, and my teammates Nate and Travis, they helped with strategy and pit strategy. Doug too. He wasn't here tonight. He decided to take a hiatus some super speedways, I guess. But thank those guys for helping me keep my pit strategy together and keep nerves under control.
All right. Well, Justin, go celebrate your win here tonight at Talladega, and we'll see you again next week here on 3 Wide TV. Best of luck next week.
Yes, sir. Appreciate it.
All right, folks, that's going to do it for our post-race interviews. Of course, we do have to bring up the final race results, and we will do so here right now for you on the channel. Here we go. They're popping up right now. There we go. Justin White takes home the win. Josh Sobel going to come home in second. Adam Leckie going to come home in third. Philip Scott in fourth here tonight. Jason Grassi is fifth. Travis White in sixth. Tristan Maher going to get 7th here tonight. John Canizaro Jr., 8th, and Joshua Corner calling his own number here tonight, finishing in 9th. Nick Kessler rounding out your top 10 there, Drew.
Vincent Valvano finishes in 11th position with the 971 of Nathan Maurer, finishing in 12th. Then it's Matt Cherry and Randy Perdue finishing 13th and 14th. Then TJ Buck in the number 84 machine finishing in 15th, with William Kerwin in the number 07 finishing in 16th. Adam Dama, a pretty solid recovery, had some trouble early. He rebounds for 17th. Johnny Williams, likewise, finishes in 18th position. Then it's Jordan Shepler finishing in 19th, despite, Peter, a pretty spectacular accident there late for the number 13 machine. And then Thomas Kohik in that number 04 machine rounds at our top 20.
Doug Milliner going to come home 21st here tonight. Jordan Dworchik in the 03 22nd. Jeffrey Johnson Jr. 23rd. Randy Bledsoe 24th. I do want to mention to Jeffrey Johnson Jr., I do apologize. He has to be pulled up into the booth at one point, and I completely missed the message. I do apologize for that. Randy Bledsoe 24th. Garrett Gleason 25th here tonight. Jason Chu 26th. Chris Darling 27th, a former winner here at Talladega Superspeedway in this series. Garrett Austin 28th. Zach Stash in 29th. Stan Hausman, last year's race winner at this racetrack, or last season's race winner, I should say, in 30th. Ben Mashburn, Ryan Bolstridge, and Kyle Lewis rounding out your 33 starters here tonight at the Talladega Super Speedway in the BeerStreetJournal.com 260, 250, 260, whatever you want to call it. Big shout out to our friends over at BeerStreetJournal.com for sponsoring the race here tonight. Of course, we also going to have to go over to our Taz Racing Customs Biggest Mover of the Race Award, and that tonight is going to go to the driver of the number 1 machine by just one spot. The number 1 machine of Jason Gracias started 22nd, comes home in 5th, going to pick up 17 spots on his way to the Taz Racing Customs Biggest Mover of the Race Award. If you want to get a custom diecast of your iRacing machine, make sure you check them out at Taz Racing Customs Facebook page. There's a link in the description. But big shout out to them, as well as Stay Tuned Sports Podcast for sponsoring tonight. MaxGrafix.co. Link in the description to their page, custom iRacing schemes, as well as all the other sponsors that make the National Sim Racing Association possible, like craigsetupshop.co.uk. Make sure you check them out as well for all custom iRacing setup needs, and becoming Dr. Mashburn podcast as well for helping out here. But Drew, before we leave Talladega Super Speedway, any final thoughts here before we move on to Lucas Oil?
I mean, I would say the first half a little more calm than I was expecting. The second half a little more chaotic than I was expecting, especially that last lap. But Justin White, I am still watching him burn it down as I'm a little behind on my own personal replay. But, I mean, he did what he needed to do to win. As he said, I don't think he meant to wreck that number 88 machine, but again, it's making that move or finishing second, and you kind of got to internally prioritize that. And the number 2 machine decided winning's worth it. But I am so excited for I believe it's Lucas Oil in iRacing. It's gone through a few name changes. Beer Street Journal visited there earlier. I thought it was a fantastic race that really rewards the drivers. I think it's going to do the same here next Friday night, and I think it's going to be interesting to see who comes to the front and who struggles, and it's going to potentially lock another driver into the playoffs, and I think things are going to get real interesting post Lucas Oil Raceway in the Stay Tuned Sports Podcast Truck Series.
Yeah, that is for sure. Big shout out to our friends over at SimTV for the camera angles that we had here tonight at Talladega Super Speedway. BeerStreetJournal.com for sponsoring the race, and of course, Stay Tuned Sports on board all season long. But folks, that's going to just about do it for us here tonight on 3 Wide TV. Stay safe and all that good stuff, and we shall see ya.